The Priestess's time travel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251, Qingchuan Jiu. 2 days later, Su Qingni did not wait for the 13th prince, but waited for the reward sent by the 4th prince's people. Su Qingni understood that the 13th prince did not go to find potatoes and corn by himself, but told the 4th prince about it. You know, if you can find potatoes, corn and sweet potatoes, it can be proved that the 3 crops are indeed high-yield food crops. This is a great achievement. The 13th prince shared it with the 4th prince so easily. The 13th prince's feelings for the 4th prince are really too real and too deep. What a temperamental person. If you consider it, when the 13th prince is in prison for 10 years, you can secretly help the 13th prince. At least don't let his legs leave a root of disease, let his body decay, and die early. When Su's father and mother saw the 4th prince sending rewards to their daughter, they felt that their daughter had caught a prince's eye and were very happy. Now Su Qingni's status in the Su family is higher, and it can be said that they will listen to whatever Su Qingni says. What Su Qingni says is more effective than what anyone else says. Su Qingni was too lazy to care about their attitudes. She took her little brother Xiao to her side and injected internal force into the child, forming a circulation in the child's body so that the child could start to practice internal force. Su Qingni decided to make a small achievement in her brother's internal force in the year before leaving home, so that the child could protect himself and would not be in danger of dying. Just as Su Qingni was teaching the child, most of the time she took the child to play. After all, the child was still young, only 3 years old. The 13th prince came to say goodbye. The capital urgently summoned him and the 4th prince and the 14th prince to return to the capital. The 4th brother went to see Miss Lu. I don't know if you will confess his identity to Miss Lu. The 13th prince was quite worried about his brother's love. He was afraid that the girl his 4th brother liked would not be able to accept the 4th brother's identity change and the fact that the 4th brother was married for a while, and would have a quarrel with the 4th brother. The 4th brother was in a hurry to return to the capital, so how could he have time to stay and coax people? Definitely not. Su Qingni thought that the 4th brother would not do anything he was not sure of. Come to see me next year when you arrive in the capital. I will take you around the capital. 13th prince said to Su Qingni. Su Qingni shook her head. Forget it. At that time, I was a concubine and I dared not go to the 13th prince without restraint. Otherwise, I don't know what others would think of me. I don't want to enter your backyard. Why? I am not worthy of you. 13th prince pretended to be angry. Su Qingni chuckled. 13th prince, if I really enter your backyard, would you dare to accept me? 13th prince laughed. I really don't dare to accept it. I'm afraid you will lead other women in my backyard astray. Su Qingni snorted. 13th prince, you are joking. The ladies in your mansion are all noble ladies. How could they be led astray by me? Are you afraid that I will get angry and attack them? You were right. 13th prince rubbed his nose with his fingers and laughed. Su Qingni gave 13th prince 2 sanitary eyes. The 13th prince was very curious. Tell me, what kind of person do you want to marry? Su Qingni did not say that she did not want to get married and would take the opportunity of the selection to leave. I don't know. I should be eliminated. Su Qingni said. The 13th prince nodded. With this girl's personality, she was not suitable for entering the royal family, let alone being a man's concubine. Marrying an ordinary person as a wife was the best choice for her. Okay, I got it. I will ask the Empress Defa to take care of you secretly. After the 13th prince finished speaking, he said goodbye and left. Su Qingni walked into the inner courtyard, and was greeted by the wrinkled face of Su's father who smiled like a chrysanthemum. Qingni, what did the 13th master say to you? Su Qingni looked at Su's father and smiled, and said, the 13th master said that he would ask the Empress Defa to take care of me during this election. Haha, good, good. Su's father was even happier. He thought this was a promise from the 13th prince to Su Qingni. He was very happy and thought it was really good to raise such a daughter. The original resentment towards Su Qingni for forcing him to deal with her favorite concubine disappeared without a trace. He fantasized in his head that he would become the father-in-law of the prince, and his official position should be promoted by 1 or 2 levels. When he came to the main courtyard, Su's mother pulled him and talked about how to marry into the prince's backyard, as if Su Qingni had been appointed by the emperor and would soon become the prince's woman. Su Qingni's patience ran out, so she took her brother away and took the child back to her own courtyard to practice. The child was young and didn't know what his sister taught him, but just did what his sister told him to do, because if he did it well, his sister would reward him with delicious snacks. However, after practicing for a while, the child felt that every time he did what his sister asked, a warm little mouse would appear in his body and run around in his body, which was so comfortable, and the child fell in love with what his sister called cultivation. The child had a pure mind and did whatever he was told to do. There was no worry about being possessed by the fire demon, and the child's cultivation progress was faster than Su Qingni expected. Occasionally, Su Qingni went out to relax, and she met LV Ying several times. Because she had someone she liked, LV Ying firmly refused her mother's attempt to find her a husband. She slightly revealed that she had a lover, who is a nobleman in the capital. LV's mother was happy for her daughter and gave up the move of finding a husband for her daughter. But LV's father was a little pessimistic. A nobleman in the capital? Which nobleman? Most of the noblemen in the capital were Manchus. It was not that LV's father did not want his daughter to marry a Manchu, but most Manchus married early. Those noblemen in the capital had wives at a young age. Was his daughter really going to be a concubine? No, Aizhen can't get married. He said that he only loves me. LV Ying didn't believe her father's words, and had a big quarrel with him. She ran out of the house to relax alone and met Su Qingni, who was also out of the house to relax. LV Ying knew Su Qingni and had seen her 2 or 3 times at parties, but they had never talked. In her impression, Su Qingni was a stereotyped lady from a wealthy family, a rich lady, and she was not the same kind of person as herself. Therefore, even when she saw Su Qingni taking her maid out of the house to play, Lu Ying did not go up to greet her. She just nodded to Su Qingni and passed by. Su Qingni waited until Lu Ying walked a long way, then turned around leisurely and followed Lu Ying at a distance that she could not detect. Let's go watch the show. As the heroine, even if the male lead and the male supporting role left, there should be other scenes, right? Maybe 1 or 2 male supporting roles will appear again? Amber. She didn't quite understand, but she just had to follow her young lady. Su Qingni saw Lu Ying enter a restaurant from a distance, thought about it, and did not follow in, but walked into a tea house not far from the restaurant. Chapter 252, Qing Dynasty 10. Not long after sitting in the tea house, there was a noise from the restaurant. Su Qingni was shocked. Here they come. She just stood up and looked in the direction of the restaurant, and saw that the window on the second floor of the restaurant was knocked open, and 4 figures flew out from the second floor of the restaurant fighting. One of them was naturally Lu Ying, and the other 3 were all men. Lu Ying was in the same group with a Taoist priest, and the other side was a middle-aged man in his 30s and a young scholar in his 20s. The 4 people fought fiercely, and they were all good at martial arts. All of them were first-class masters in the world. And it was obvious that Lu Ying and the young scholar's martial arts were even stronger than the older Taoist priest and the middle-aged man. Lu Ying and the scholar fought evenly, and the Taoist priest's skills were better than the middle-aged man. Seeing that the middle-aged man was a little defeated, another young man flew out of the restaurant, beat the Taoist priest with 1 move, and then inserted into the battle circle between Lu Ying and the scholar, blocking Lu Ying's attack. Miss, we don't know each other without fighting. Why don't we sit down and talk? The young man spoke in a very gentle manner. He had a good temperament and was well liked. Now his attitude was so good that even though LV Ying and the Taoist priest were originally angry, they also softened their attitudes and stopped fighting in the face of such a polite person. Who are you? LV Ying looked at the young man in front of her and cheered in her heart. She originally thought that Aizhen and Jin Shixi, whom she met, were already very outstanding. They were the best among men, and no man could compare to them. She didn't expect to meet a man who was not inferior to them. LV Ying showed admiration in her eyes. The young man also looked at LV Ying with admiration, with surprise in his eyes. I am Di He, and these 2 are my brothers Tao Zhengai and Zimen Yu. The Taoist priest exclaimed. It turns out that they are the new chief leader of the Xiandahu, Chief Leader Di. The Taoist priest hurriedly pulled LV Ying to salute Di He. I am Qingxin from Pingxin sect, and this is my junior sister LV Ying. I am honored to meet Chief Leader Di and to meet you too. Taoist priest Qingxu clasped his fists and said. Master Qingxu is too polite. Dihea hurriedly returned the greeting. No wonder you two are so skilled. It turns out you are disciples of Pingxin sect. Master Te, the head of Pingxin sect, is a close friend of my master. We are like a flood that has washed away the Dragon King temple, and its family fighting each other. Taoist King Su said embarrassedly, we were the first to attack, please don't be offended, Master Tao and Master Zeman. Tao Xingai hurriedly said, it was our words that were inappropriate and offended Miss Lu, please don't forgive me, Miss Lu. Lu Ying waved her hand, forget it, I just hope Master Tao will not say bad things about my grandfather in the future. Tao Xingai was puzzled, your grandfather? Lu Ying said, Lu Gongzishan is my grandfather. Tao Xingai suddenly realized that when he talked to Zeman Yu before, he looked down on Literatai, and Lu Zhishan is the leader of Literatai today, so he naturally mentioned Lu Zhishan. He didn't say bad things about Lu Zhishan, but because he looked down on Literatai, his tone was inevitably a little contemptuous. Unexpectedly, Lu Zhishan's granddaughter was right next to them. Tao Xingai hurriedly apologized to Lu Ying again, and Zeman Yu also stepped forward to apologize. The reason why Tao Xingai spoke contemptuously to the Literatai was because of him. He deliberately acted sour and teased Tao Xingai as a rude warrior. Tao Xingai got angry and belittled the Literatai according to his status. Lu Ying accepted their apologies, but she did it for Dihea's sake. Lu Ying still disliked Tao Xingai and Zeman Yu. Dihea looked at Lu Ying with more appreciation in his eyes. It turns out that Miss Lu was born in a family of great scholars. No wonder she is so different. Which female hero in the world can compare with this temperament? Dihea is an excellent person and looks good. There must be too few female heroes who like her. However, Dihea looked down on these chivalrous women. They were only slightly literate and only knew a few words. In the eyes of Dihea, who was both civil and military, they were quite vulgar. They could not chat with him about poetry, books, stars and moon, or be with him. He had never thought of finding his other half among these chivalrous women. Now he met Lu Ying, who completely met his requirements for his other half, beautiful, outstanding temperament, born in a family of poetry and books, both civil and military, and able to speak the same language with him. However, because of his status, Dihea did not show his interest in Lu Ying. His attitude became more gentle, and he invited Lu Ying and Taoist King Su, no fight, no recognition. Why don't I host you and invite you two to have a drink, and let Brother Tao and Brother Zeman accompany you to drink and apologize? Okay. Taoist King Su gave face and readily agreed. Seeing Dihea smiling at her, Lu Ying smiled back and nodded to accept Dihea's invitation. The four returned to the restaurant through the gate. The owner of the restaurant seemed to be accustomed to such fighting and killing among the people of Jianghu. The fight between Lu Ying and the other five only destroyed a table, 2 chairs and some dishes, without causing much damage. The five gave the owner a gold ingot as compensation. The owner happily welcomed the 5 people back in and served them wine and food again. When Su Qingni saw the 5 people entering the restaurant again, the smile on her face widened. Sure enough, the male protagonist and the male supporting role left, and another male protagonist appeared next to the female protagonist. He was still the chief leader of the Xiandahu. Su Qingni left the tea house in a good mood. After staying at home for less than 2 days, Su Qingni got the news that Lu Ying's grandfather Lu Zhishan had died. Su Qingni followed her mother to the Lu family to pay homage to the old man. Many people came to Lu's house. Lu Zhishan was very famous in the Confucian scholars. Even the officials in Dayang City had to come to pay homage to him, not to mention other people. Su Qingni stayed in the backyard of Lu's house as a female guest. The female guests were received by Lu's mother and Lu Ying's sister-in-law, but she herself was not allowed to see them. This made Su Qingni puzzled. As the granddaughter of Lu Zhishan, Lu Ying did not attend Lu Zhishan's funeral. Isn't it too strange? MRS. Lu? Where is Miss Lu? Why didn't I see her? Su Qingni asked. Lu's mother's smile froze, and she said, well, Aang was too sad and fell ill, so she can't come out to receive guests. Please understand, Miss Su. Really? Then let Miss Lu take good care of her illness. Su Qingni replied considerately. She thought it was a lie. Lu Ying was in such good health, how could she fall ill because of sadness? Something must have happened in the Lu mansion, and Lu Zhishan's death was too sudden. Lu Zhishan's health had improved slightly a few days ago. How could he die of illness after just a few days? There must be something fishy. There is definitely something fishy. Su Qingni carefully looked at everything in the Lu mansion, including the people and the environment. Sure enough, the expressions of Lu's father and eldest brother were a little abnormal. The servants of the Lu mansion brought several food boxes to a remote courtyard of the Lu mansion. Chapter 253, Qing Dynasty Episode 11. When he returned to the Su family, Su's father had not come back. He was afraid that Chang Sui would go home and tell him that Su's father might not be able to come back in the next few days, so he asked Su's mother to prepare some clothes for Chang Sui to deliver to Su's father. Su's mother asked Chang Sui why Su's father did not go home. Chang Sui replied, "A rebel was found in the city, and it was the leader of the rebels. The adults have to discuss with the prefect and others how to capture the criminals. I will not return to the mansion these days." Were Dihaya and others discovered? So, the people hiding in the side courtyard of Lu's mansion were Dihaya and others? No wonder. Lu Zhishan might be willing to die. As a Confucian leader, although he obeyed the Qing dynasty on the surface, he was actually against the Qing dynasty and restored the Ming dynasty, right? Not long after Chang Sui left, a servant came to report that the entire Dayang city was under martial law. The 4 city gates were all blocked by soldiers, and people could only enter but not leave. The soldiers also went to every household in teams to search. Even the rich and powerful families were searched by soldiers. If a family did not cooperate, the soldiers would regard them as accomplices of the rebels and arrest the whole family to Laoli. Searchers also came to the Su family, but they did not dare to search too recklessly. They just symbolically walked around the house and left. When everyone left the Su family, Su Qingni drove all the people in her yard out, leaving only her confidant Amber, and asked Amber to open her big box of clothes. What caught her eye was a layer of clothes that were placed in a mess. Su Qingni grabbed the clothes and threw them aside, and then saw a wounded young man curled up in the box. The young man was already unconscious, and the rope of his belly band was still wrapped around his ears. The pink belly band just blocked the young man's face. Su Qingni blushed and pulled the belly band off, revealing the young man's face, which she had seen before. Su Qingni recognized that it was the young man who fought with Liu Ying that day, the one wearing a scholar's robe, who seemed to be called Zeman Yu, and seemed to be a member of the Cheyenne Dahu. Should I save him? On the surface, I am the daughter of an official, but how can this person be one of the rebels? Their positions are different. Miss Amber whispered, "This is a traitor. Do you want me to capture him and send him to the master?" Su Qingni then remembered that Amber had been with her that day, so she naturally knew the man's identity. No need. Su Qingni waved her hand to stop Amber. "The man was found in my room. If the news leaks out, it will be bad for my reputation. Then I will deal with him directly." A trace of murderous intent appeared on Amber's face. "Good girl, don't be so murderous," Su Qingni said. "Since he was able to escape the pursuit of the officers and soldiers and escape to my room, it can be said that we are destined to be together, so save him this time. Move him to the bed, and then bring my medicine box over, and I will bandage him." Amber stared at Su Qingni with strange eyes. Su Qingni asked in confusion, "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Amber, miss, you are not attracted to this guy just because he is good looking, are you?" Su Qingni was so angry that she laughed. "Yes, I am attracted to him. I want him to be your husband, is that okay?" Amber realized that she was wrong. Su Qingni sneered in the face. She dragged him out of the box with a blushing face and moved him to Su Qingni's bed. Mrs. Bed has never been slept on by the 13th master, but it was slept on by this traitor. Amber muttered. "What are you mumbling about? Hurry up and get the medicine," Su Qingni shouted. Amber didn't dare to say anything more and ran to get the medicine box. Su Qingni walked to the bed and said to the person on the bed, "Since you are awake, don't pretend." The person on the bed suddenly opened his eyes, cast a sharp gaze on Su Qingni's face, and said in an icy but very weak voice, "You are the daughter of a Tartar official. Even if you saved me, I would not be grateful to you." Su Qingni snorted, "I saved you just because I was in a good mood and wanted to save people. I didn't expect you to be grateful. You ungrateful bastard, you don't want to repay the life-saving grace? What kind of hero are you?" Amber came over with a medicine box, and heard this, and immediately said angrily. Zeman Yu snorted coldly, not wanting to talk to a maid like Amber. "Miss, I think you should hand this person over to the master. This person is a complete ungrateful bastard," Amber said to Su Qingni angrily. Su Qingni chuckled and said, "If he was an ungrateful person, he wouldn't have said such things before we rescued him. He obviously doesn't want to accept our help." If he wasn't so injured that he couldn't move, I'm afraid he would leave immediately and not give us a chance to rescue him. He's still unwilling to save him. This shows that this person has principles. Su Qingni said, I would rather treat such a person with confidence. We saved him, so we don't worry that he would repay kindness with hatred. As for repaying a favor, I never expected him to repay it. Zeman Yu snorted again and said, if you really saved me, I will promise you one thing, but it must not go against my conscience and principles, and don't even think that I will work for the Tartars. The woman in front of him was too smart and saw his intentions clearly. It seemed that he was destined to owe the woman in front of him a life-saving grace. In this case, just accept it calmly. Su Qingni said, don't worry, I won't make it difficult for you. Su Qingni took out a pill for treating internal injuries from the medicine box and fed Zeman Yu one, then began to clean his wounds and bandage his external injuries. Zeman Yu was surprised to feel his breathing become heavier, and he regained some strength, and his internal injuries healed by 1/10. Where did you get your medicine? Zeman Yu couldn't help asking. The effect of this medicine is really great. If the brothers of Xianzhu can buy more of this medicine, they will not be afraid of getting hurt in the future. Su Qingni saw through his thoughts, chuckled, and said, don't think about it, I made this medicine. Zeman Yu. His eyes opened wider. Is the woman in front of him really the daughter of an official? How can she be so good at martial arts, medicine, and medicine? It's a pity that this person doesn't mix with the world. You. What? Su Qingni asked. Zeman Yu closed his mouth and didn't ask again. He wanted to ask Su Qingni if she had also traveled in the world like Lu Ying, but then he remembered that Su Qingni's identity was very different from Lu Ying. Although Lu Ying was born in a famous family, she was not a daughter of an official, and she was much freer. But Su Qingni was the daughter of an official. It was said that she was going to participate in the selection of the capital. The Su family would definitely not let her go out, and naturally, she would not travel in the world. Zeman Yu. After a while, Zeman Yu spoke, my name. Well, hello, Zeman Yu. Su Qingni greeted casually like a modern person, my name is Su Qingni. Chapter 254, Qing Dynasty. Su Qingni left Zeman Yu in her house to recover from his injuries. With Amber's help as a cover, and Su Qingni's control over her own yard, no one else in the Su family found Zeman Yu. After Zeman Yu introduced his name, he never spoke to Su Qingni and Amber again. He was afraid that Su Qingni, a smart woman, would hear clues from his words, detect the traces of the brothers, and then tell her father to harm the brothers. Su Qingni guessed Zeman Yu's thoughts, but just smiled and didn't tease Zeman Yu. Anyway, she already knew where Tao Xingai, Dihaya and others were hiding. Su Qingni asked Amber to secretly keep an eye on the Lu family and report to her if there was any situation. Amber got a lot of news about the Lu mansion through the communication between the servants. Putting together the clues in the news, Su Qingni guessed a general course of the whole thing. Dihaya and others came to Dayang City this time to rescue a senior member of the Xianzhu. This senior member was escorted back to the capital by a master from the capital, and would pass through Dayang City halfway. However, their rescue operation was already planned by the court masters. Dihaya and others fell into a trap, and many of them were injured. Zeman Yu was the most seriously injured, so he was separated from Dihaya and others who were running in front. Zeman Yu could not support it anymore, so he climbed over the wall into the Su mansion and hid in Su Qingni's yard. Dihaya and others hid in the Lu mansion. Lu Zhishan, the grandfather of Lu Ying, secretly had contact with the Xianzhu and also supported the anti-Qing and restoration of the Ming dynasty. After taking in Dihaya and others, Lu Zhishan understood that the court masters would never let Dihaya and others go. This was the best opportunity to capture them. As long as the city gates were guarded, they could be caught in the jar. And now, the most important thing is to send Dihaya and others out of the city. As long as they are out of the city, the sky is high and the land is far away, and it will be difficult for the court masters to catch Dihaya and others. But, how to send people out of the city under the eyes of the government? So, Lu Zhishan chose to end his life. Anyway, his health was already very bad, and living was just a waste of time, so it was better to use his life to exchange for a way out for the young people. 7 days later, the Lu family held a funeral, and Dihaya and others mixed in with his servants and left the city. Because of Lu Zhishan's reputation, the government did not make things difficult for the Lu family, allowing Dihaya and others to successfully escape from Dayang City. Amber had been paying attention to the movements of the Lu family and reported the escape of Diehea and others to Su Qingni. Su Qingni was sitting on the chaise longue in her room and listening to the report, so Zimin Yu could naturally hear what Amber said. Hearing that his brothers had all escaped, Zimin Yu breathed a sigh of relief. Su Qingni heard the sound of breathing and chuckled. Perhaps he didn't have to worry about hurting his brothers with his words. Zimin Yu stopped being silent and said, "What are you laughing at?" Su Qingni stopped laughing and said, "Nothing, I just feel that your brothers, including you, can escape for a while, but not forever. A group of people who can't accomplish anything can only be chased by the government like stray dogs, constantly fleeing. Wanting to overthrow the Qing dynasty is nothing but a foolish dream." Zimin Yu said angrily, "We are not stray dogs. We have great revenge. As long as we don't give up, we will be able to overthrow the Qing dynasty one day. You are the running dog of the Manchus, just like your father, a running dog of the Manchus." Su Qingni was not angry because Zimin Yu scolded her, and said lightly, "I am just telling the truth. Your anti-Qing and restoration organizations are independent of each other and have no unified leadership. In the end, you will only be defeated one by the Qing court. What kind of damage have you done to the Qing court? It's just a little trouble. And many times it didn't cause much damage to the Qing court, but instead damaged the lives of ordinary people. In this way, you are not righteous men, but a group of mobs. You are the mob." Zimin Yu was extremely angry. If his injury had not healed, he would have wanted to jump up and slap Su Qingni in the face. Su Qingni glanced at Zimin Yu and continued, "If you are not a mob, what are you? You only know how to destroy, not how to build. You only bring trouble to ordinary people, but cannot bring them benefits or teach them how to make a living. What else can you do besides fighting and killing? You only know how to bully others, have short-sightedness, and only want to cause trouble for the Qing court. Have you seen that those Western countries have long coveted the Qing dynasty? If the Qing dynasty is in chaos one day, before you can successfully restore the Ming dynasty, those Western countries will take advantage of the chaos to invade the Qing dynasty." "What Western countries? Don't exaggerate." Zimin Yu snorted. "You don't even know about Western countries. Your vision is really too short-sighted." Su Qingni shook her head, with a contemptuous expression of a child who cannot be taught, which made Zimin Yu very upset. He decided that after his injury healed, he must understand what the Western countries are and whether they really covet and harm the land of China. Su Qingni saw Zimin Yu's expression, and the corners of her mouth slightly hooked, and she said, "If you want to understand the West, it's best to go to the West in person to understand it. Otherwise, you can only understand the superficial things, which is useless." Zimin Yu snorted coldly and listened to this. The arc of Su Qingni's mouth corners became larger. The wolfish ambitions of the Western powers were told to the prince of the Qing court and a member of the anti-Qing and restoration of Ming. No matter who will win in the end, the winner will not ignore the danger of the Western powers, right? Half a month later, Zimin Yu's injury healed, and Su Qingni drove him out of the Su mansion. At this time, the court masters had left Dayang City, and Dayang City had been lifted. Zimin Yu returned to the Xianzhu and met many brothers. The brothers were happy that Zimin Yu could return safely, and asked Zimin Yu how he escaped the pursuit of the court masters. Zimin Yu didn't know why, so he didn't tell Su Qingni's identity, but only said that he was saved by someone who also had the idea of anti-Qing and restoration of Ming. Zimin Yu simply recounted the process of how he was rescued, and raised the question of the Western powers to his brothers. These brothers had never known about Western countries before Zimin Yu, and some of those who knew about them did not think that Western countries could cause any harm to the Qing dynasty. Only one or two had come into contact with the Russians and knew the power of Western firearms. They thought deeply about the questions raised by Zimin Yu, while most people thought that Zimin Yu was exaggerating. Zimin Yu remembered Su Qingni's ridicule of them, saying that they were a group of short-sighted people. Now looking at the brothers who disagreed, Zimin Yu suddenly felt that Su Qingni's words might make sense. Can the Qing dynasty really be overthrown by following such a group of people? I want to go to Western countries and see it with my own eyes. Chapter 255, Qing Dynasty 13. A year passed in the blink of an eye. The draft was about to begin, and Su Qingni was also going to leave for the capital. Su's father could not leave Dayang City, and Su's mother had to stay at home to take care of their youngest son, so Su Qingni set off alone. Although she said she was alone, she still had companions on the road. There were 2 or 3 people in the city who were qualified for the draft. Su Qingni traveled with them so that they could take care of each other on the road. Everyone took a boat along the way, and the road was smooth. Occasionally there were 1 or 2 groups of water bandits, but they were all sent away by the guards sent by each family. These guards were not as good as the masters in the world, but they were also second or third rate, which was enough to deal with some ordinary bandits. The boat docked at Tongzhou port. As soon as Su Qingni got off the boat, someone came to greet her. "Are you Miss Su Qingni from Dayang City?" "I am." Su Qingni looked at the man, with a white face and no beard. This man was a eunuch. "Is this someone sent by the 13th prince?" The eunuch quickly introduced himself. "I am Li Sam from the Prince of Yang County's mansion. The wife of our mansion asked me to pick up the girl." The wife knew that the girl had no relatives in the capital, so she arranged a house for the girl. "Please feel free to live there." Since he was sent by the 4th lady? What's going on? Why wasn't he sent by the 13th prince? Su Qingni smiled slightly and said, "Please express my gratitude to the 4th lady on my behalf. When I settle down, I will go to the Prince of Yang County's mansion in person to thank the 4th lady." Li San agreed with a smile, asked his men to help Su Qingni move her luggage, and took Su Qingni away from the port. The 3 concubines who traveled with Su Qingni were surprised and jealous. Su Qingni actually knew the 4th lady? Exclamation mark. So what if she knows the 4th lady? The 4th lady is not eligible to participate in the selection of concubines. A woman said sourly. Yes. It's hard to say what will happen at that time. The other 2 echoed. Not far away, 3 tall and handsome men also watched Su Qingni being taken away by Li San. One of the most handsome men said, "8th brother, that servant is from 4th brother's house, right?" The gentleman nodded. "Yes, he is from 4th brother's house, but he is running errands for 4th sister-in-law." The handsome man sneered. 4th sister-in-law always follows 4th brother's lead and is 4th brother's virtuous wife. What's the difference between her running errands and 4th brother's running errands? I think it's 4th brother's idea that Li San came to pick someone up. Does 4th brother want the woman just now to enter the house? That woman should be this year's concubine. I don't know what kind of official position her father holds and what kind of abilities he has. 4th brother actually wants to win her over. The tallest man said, "9th brother, you think too much? What if the girl is just a relative of 4th lady?" The handsome man glared at the tall man. "It's better to think too much than to have an empty brain and think nothing. What if the girl's father is worth winning over? We can't let 4th brother get her." Hearing this, the gentleman nodded. "I'll send a servant to check the identity of that concubine." Su Qingni didn't know that she had attracted the attention of the 8th Master's trio on her first day in Beijing. She followed Li San to the residence arranged by the 4th lady. The 4th lady arranged it very carefully, not only arranging the house, but also arranging the servants. Su Qingni once again expressed her gratitude to Li San and asked Amber to send Li San and others out of the door. Su Qingni called the servants arranged by the 4th lady to her side and gave each of them a red envelope, which made these servants smile. Su Qingni observed that these people were honest people, and they didn't seem to be sent to monitor her. She put down her vigilance against the 4th lady, encouraged everyone, and sent them to work. Then let Amber call the servants of the Su family who followed her to Beijing, and send them back to the Su mansion in Dayang City on the grounds that she had people serving in Beijing. She was leaving, and she would definitely not take these people with her. At that time, these people would be punished by Su's father, and she would harm them. It is better to send these people away early. Afterwards, Su Qingni sat in the yard drinking tea, waiting for the 13th prince to come and answer her questions. After drinking a bowl of tea and playing a game of chess with herself, the 13th prince came slowly. 4th sister-in-law misunderstood. 13th prince wiped his face and said, "4th brother has someone in his heart, and as his wife, 4th sister-in-law found out at the first time." 4th sister-in-law thought that the person 4th brother liked must have been met outside, and 4th brother had been in Dayang City before. Then what? Su Qingni raised her eyebrows and stared at the 13th prince, making the 13th prince feel guilty. "Well, I happened to go to Yang Palace at that time and asked Empress Defei to take care of you during this election. 4th sister-in-law was there, and when she heard that you were from Dayang City, she thought you were the person 4th brother liked. Later, after I left, 4th sister-in-law asked Empress Defei to let someone enter the Yongjin prince's mansion during this election." After the 13th prince finished speaking, he closed his eyes, looking like he would let you beat him up. Su Qingni, haha, haha. Damn, isn't this fourth lady too virtuous? Is she really not jealous at all for helping her husband bring women into the house? Su Qingni, didn't you explain it clearly to your good fourth sister-in-law? The 13th prince said, I did, but the fourth sister-in-law didn't believe it. She thought I was covering up for the fourth brother. Su Qingni, aren't you covering up for your fourth brother? You didn't tell your fourth sister-in-law that the person your fourth brother loves is Lu Ying, right? The 13th prince shrank his neck. Fourth brother doesn't want other people to know about Lu Ying's existence, so it's naturally difficult for me to say Lu Ying out. So you use me to take the blame. Su Qingni snorted coldly, what about your fourth brother? Will he let your fourth sister-in-law match people up at random and not stop your fourth sister-in-law's behavior? The 13th prince's expression became even more embarrassed and guilty. Well, my fourth brother and I have found sweet potatoes, corn and potatoes. We found them. What does it have to do with this matter? The 13th prince, after a year of planting verification, these 3 crops are indeed high-yield crops. My fourth brother and I presented the 3 crops to the emperor, and the emperor was very happy and rewarded my fourth brother and me. And all this is brought to my fourth brother and me by you. So fourth brother thinks you are different from other women, you are very knowledgeable, and a good wife, so fourth brother did not stop fourth sister-in-law's behavior, he intends to take you into Prince Yang's mansion. Su Qingni again, haha, haha. Su Qingni, didn't you tell your fourth brother clearly what kind of person I am? Isn't your fourth brother afraid that all the women in his backyard will be killed by me? You won't. 13th prince said, although you say cruel words, you value life very much and will never take other people's lives at will. Not only I can see this, but fourth brother can see it too. Chapter 256, Qing Dynasty 14. Su Qingni drove the 13th prince away. What's the point of keeping him? He can't change the decision of the fourth prince and the fourth lady, and his future is doomed. If Su's father and mother knew, they would definitely be happy to set off firecrackers to celebrate. But she will disappoint them, and she will never enter the fourth prince's mansion. Won't there be all kinds of accidents during this election? Then she might as well take advantage of these accidents to escape. She can't leave directly. After all, she has registered on the list of showgirls. If she leaves without caring, Su's father and mother will be held accountable by the court. For the original owner and for her younger brother, Su Qingni will not do this. Forget it, let the fourth lady misunderstand. Just act according to your own plan. The 13th prince came to the Prince of Yang's mansion and went to the study to see the fourth prince. The fourth prince asked, have you seen Su Qingni? The 13th prince nodded. She was very angry at first, but then she calmed down. It seems that she accepted her fate. The fourth prince said, that's good. She is a smart woman. The 13th prince, fourth brother, after Su Qingni comes into the mansion, you should be nicer to her. The fourth prince stared at the 13th prince. If you like her, then let her come into your mansion. No. The 13th prince waved his hands hurriedly. I don't like Su Qingni, I just treat her as a friend. Besides, she is my lifesaver after all. The fourth prince retracted his gaze and said lightly, don't worry, I will treat her well. She is of great use to me. That's good. The 13th prince put aside his guilt towards Su Qingni, and he asked his confusion, fourth brother, how are you going to deal with the matter between you and Miss Lu? When will you tell Miss Lu about your identity? Don't worry. When talking about LV Ying, the expression on the fourth prince's face softened a lot. LV Ying's grandfather just died, and she has to observe mourning. I happen to have a lot of things to deal with in Beijing, so there is no need to rush to find her. There is a position of a concubine in my house, which is reserved for her. The 13th prince looked at the fourth prince's expression and was very curious about LV Ying. How charming is this woman to make his fourth prince melt? In the 8th prince's house next door, the trio was discussing the fourth prince and Su Qingni. The intelligence capabilities of the ancients cannot be underestimated. Su Qingni had only been in the capital for half a day, and all her information was reported to the trio. So it was she who told the fourth brother and the 13th brother about the sweet potatoes, corn and potatoes. The 9th prince sneered and said, no wonder the fourth brother asked the fourth wife to pick him up. He wanted to bring him to his own house. The 8th prince said, this Su is smart and knowledgeable. She is a good wife. It is not difficult to understand why the fourth brother did this. The 9th prince said, humph, How can the fourth brother have all the good things? Eighth brother, why don't you marry this Su? Take the help of the fourth brother. The eighth prince waved his hand. No, your eighth sister-in-law will definitely not agree. The ninth prince frowned. Although he was not satisfied with the eighth wife's strict control over the eighth brother, he did not say anything. After all, Guoluoluo was his cousin. The ninth prince turned to look at the 10th prince, old 10. The 10th prince nodded. Sure, anyway, one more woman doesn't make much, one less woman doesn't make much either. The 9th prince, well, I'll go to the palace to find my mother tomorrow and ask her to find a way to give Su to your mansion. Okay. The 10th prince said indifferently. It's just a woman, and she's pretty good looking. The next day, the 9th prince went to the palace to meet his mother, Concubine Yi. When Concubine Yi heard that she was going to snatch a concubine from Concubinda, she agreed immediately. She and Concubinda didn't get along very well. What's the name of the concubine you mentioned? Concubine Yi asked. Knowing the information of the concubine will help you avoid making the wrong choice. Her name is Su Qingni. She is from Dayang City and was born in the Han Army banner, or the bordered white banner. The 9th prince said, this woman is very beautiful. She should be considered top-notch among the concubines. Concubine Yi said, since she is a beauty, why don't you bring her into your house but give her to the 10th prince? The 9th prince, there is no shortage of beauties in my house, but the 10th prince's, his Mongolian wife is very fierce. As a result, there are only a few women in his house, and they are scared by the Mongolian wife and dare not get close to the 10th prince. This Su Qingni is brave and smart. Who knows, if the Mongolian wife fights against her, the Mongolian wife will suffer. Concubine Yi poked her son's forehead with her long fingernails. A woman like this should enter your house. Your wife is not a smart one, and she can't be controlled by all the concubines. The whole backyard is in chaos. If there is a smart and capable concubine, your backyard will be more stable. Mother, the 9th prince was helpless. Why did his mother always talk about his backyard? Was his backyard really that messy? Why don't I feel the same? Concubine Yi was also helpless. Her son was grown up and she couldn't take care of him at all. Mother, I'll leave this matter to you. My son has something else to do, so I'll leave first. The 9th prince slipped away quickly. After leaving the palace, the 9th prince let out a long sigh and said to the attendant beside him, Mother, you are getting more and more nagging as you get older. The attendant didn't dare to interrupt. The 9th prince kicked the attendant and said, let's go to the house that the 4th sister-in-law arranged for Su and see if we can see Su. Grandpa will help the 10th prince to take a look. Last time at the Tongzhou Wharf, I just took a look from a distance and didn't look carefully. This time, I have to take a closer look. The attendant secretly complained about his master's unreasonableness. That's your future younger sister-in-law, and you, an elder brother, go to see how she looks. You are not afraid of damaging your reputation, but the girl is afraid. What's that expression on your face? The 9th prince asked dissatisfiedly when he saw the expression of his attendant. The attendant swallowed his saliva and felt that it would be better for him to be Wei Zhen. Master, you are the future uncle of the Su family. The 9th prince understood the follower's concerns and realized that he was not doing things properly. Although he had a good relationship with the 10th prince, his behavior might have the suspicion of cheating on the 10th prince. This would affect the relationship between brothers. Let's go to Shunfilao. The 9th prince turned a corner. Okay. The follower was relieved and followed the 9th prince to Shunfilao. Shunfilao is the 9th prince's business and the best restaurant in the capital. The 9th prince hired a chef from the imperial kitchen to be the chef of Shunfilao, and recruited chefs from the 8 major cuisines to work in the kitchen, selling dishes from the 8 major cuisines so that officials from all over the country can eat hometown dishes. Therefore, even though the dishes at Shunfilao are more expensive than those at other restaurants, its business is better than that at other restaurants. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257, Qing Dynasty 15. The 9th prince entered Shunfilao and was led by the waiter to his own private room. After ordering a table of dishes, the 9th prince put down his chopsticks after 2 bites, walked to the wall on one side, and lifted a calligraphy hanging on the wall. There was a palm-sized hole on the wall, and a small trumpet-shaped object made of metal was placed inside. The ninth prince picked up the trumpet and pointed the wide-open side of the trumpet at his ear. The other side of the trumpet was not open, and there was even a very thin wire connected to it. This is an ancient eavesdropping device. Fortunately, the ninth prince could think of it. This Shunfulao is not only used to make money, but also a place for the ninth prince to collect intelligence. Those officials who came to Shunfulao to consume could not imagine that. They only thought that their secret conversations would be eavesdropped by the people in the restaurant. The trumpet chosen by the ninth prince was a bugging device in an ordinary private room downstairs. He was bored and wanted to listen to gossip casually, but he didn't expect to get a surprise. "Miss, the food cooked by the chef here is really authentic, and it tastes better than the food cooked by the local chefs in Dayang City." Dayang City? Because of his investigation of Su Qingni, the ninth prince has been very sensitive to the word Dayang City these days. The ninth prince waved his hand to call the attendant to his side, and whispered, "Go and check who is in Shunlin room." The attendant hurriedly left the private room to find the waiter. The ninth prince continued to eavesdrop, and this time the lady spoke up. "If it is not authentic and not delicious, it will not be sold so expensively. It is 10 times more expensive than the dishes in the best restaurant in Dayang City." The maid agreed. "No wonder the person who introduced this restaurant has advised us not to enter Shunfulao if we did not have enough 1,000 taels of silver." The lady said, "The owner of this restaurant is very good at doing business." The ninth prince was proud. "That's right. This prince is a business genius. The best moneymaker in the world is this prince. Young lady, this restaurant should be opened by the ninth prince." Maid, "How do you know, young lady?" Ninth prince, "How do you know? Young lady, Shunfulao can become the #1 restaurant in the capital, not only because it has dishes from the 8 major cuisines, not only because the food here is authentic and delicious, it must have a powerful backer. Otherwise, it would have been swallowed up by others long ago. The capital is not like our Dayang City, where a brick falling down can hit many princes and ministers. The #1 restaurant that can stand firm in the capital must have a very strong backer behind it, and ordinary princes and ministers dare not touch this bone at all. And it is said that among the princes, the ninth prince likes business the most. Then, it is hard to guess who the backer behind Shunfulao is." The ninth prince smacked his lips. This young lady is smart enough to analyze that she is the owner of Shunfulao. Suddenly, the ninth prince's heart moved. A smart woman from Dayang City. Why does this character look so familiar? Damn, it can't be that woman. This is simply. I was thinking of observing this woman from a closer distance, but I didn't expect that she would come to me on her own initiative. But this woman is really brave. Which of the concubines who come to Beijing nowadays doesn't stay in their residence cautiously? They dare not go out, for fear that something will delay their participation in the beauty pageant. But this woman went out to visit the capital the next day and even went to a restaurant. Haha, did Lao Si know about this? Lao Si is such a rule-abiding person. If he knew about this woman's behavior, he would definitely be furious, right? Would he let this woman in? I must let Lao Si know about this. Maybe Lao Si will give up on this woman. Just when he was thinking about it, the attendant came in and whispered to the ninth prince. The waiter said that there was a young man and his servant in Shunlin room. Young man? Servant. The ninth prince raised his eyebrows and said, "The waiter is well informed. Didn't you see that the two were women dressed as men?" The attendant hurriedly replied. The waiter saw that they were 2 men. The ninth prince became more interested in the people in Shunlin room and said to the attendant, "Tell the waiter to keep a close eye on Shunlin room. If the guests inside are about to check out and leave, notify me immediately." Yes. The attendant retreated again. The ninth prince went back to continue eavesdropping. He only heard the maid say, "Miss, the fourth lady sent some rewards this morning. Should we go to the Yongjin prince's mansion to thank them for the rewards?" "No need," Su Qingni said. If she didn't know what the fourth prince and the fourth lady were thinking, Su Qingni would go to the Yongjin prince's mansion to pay a visit to the fourth lady instead of coming out to play in the capital. But after knowing the couple's thoughts, Su Qingni said that she would not accompany them. "Dare to let me be your mistress. I didn't kill you. It's all good. You still want me to be grateful to you? You are so beautiful." "Miss, this is not good, right?" Amber said worriedly. "You will enter the Yongjin palace in the future. It will not be good for the future if you offend the fourth lady at this time." Su Qingni snorted coldly. "Who said that I must enter the Yongjin palace?" They want me to enter, but I don't want to enter. Miss. Amber wanted to persuade her again, but was interrupted by Su Qingni. Eat the food, don't waste such delicious food. She didn't tell Amber about her plan at this time. After she got away, she would ask Amber if she was willing to continue to follow her. After all, Amber still had her own family, although her family was not in the Su mansion. When the 9th prince heard this, he laughed wildly in his heart. Fourth brother, the girl doesn't care about you. Such a woman is not bad for my 10th brother to be his wife. Oh, he regretted it a little. Such a woman is interesting enough. If he had known earlier, he would have taken her into his own mansion. After that, the master and servants just kept eating without chatting. The 9th prince could no longer hear any useful or interesting news, so he put the trumpet back, returned to his seat in a very cheerful mood, picked up his chopsticks and started eating the food on the table. Oh, why did he feel that today's food was so delicious? Exclamation mark. After his stomach was about 70% full, the 9th prince put down his chopsticks and held a cup of tea to digest the food. The waiter came in and reported, the guests of Chunlin room paid the bill and were leaving. The 9th prince put down the teacup, went out and went downstairs on time, and just happened to bump into two people on the second floor. The 9th prince looked at the young master and the book boy, and was secretly amazed in his heart. No wonder the waiter couldn't recognize that they were two women in disguise. This woman's ability to disguise herself as a man is too strong. The color of their faces was painted 2 points darker, their eyebrows were drawn thickly with an eyebrow pencil, and it seemed that something had been done on their faces, making the originally soft facial features look rough and deep. The most amazing thing was that these two people somehow created two fake Adam's apples. People who didn't know they were women would naturally think they were men when they saw them like this. Chapter 258, Qing Dynasty 16. The 9th prince's eyes flashed, and he walked towards Su Qingni and the others. You two look unfamiliar. Is this your first time in Beijing? Su Qingni looked up at the familiar man in front of him, with a hint of admiration in his eyes. He thought that the 4th prince and Yi Hale were the best men in the world, and no one could compare to them, but he didn't expect that the man in front of him looked better than the two. The man in front of him didn't have the same temperament as the 4th prince, but his facial features were better than the 4th prince's. He was very beautiful but not feminine, and his smile was a little evil, which could kill a modern playboy in seconds. Su Qingni's heart moved slightly, and she understood the man's identity. Who else could be so good-looking and treated so respectfully by the waiter of Shunfilao except the 9th prince, the owner of Shunfilao? Yes, I'm Su Qing, and I'm here to do business in Beijing. Su Qingni saluted the 9th prince, but it was not the kind of half-kneeling salute with sleeves swung. Su Qingni would not call herself a slave to others, let alone kneel to others. When she greeted the 4th prince and the 13th prince before, she just squatted and bowed, which Su Qingni could accept. Meet the 9th prince. The 9th prince raised his eyebrows. Do you know me? Su Qingni replied, no. I'm just guessing. Very smart, and guessed very accurately. The 9th prince looked at Su Qingni wantonly. Although Su Qingni had put on makeup, it was just simple makeup without making too much change. The 9th prince could see Su Qingni's real facial features through these modifications. The original facial features were very delicate, and she was a beauty in itself. After Su Qingni came, she took good care of her body, and she looked even better. The most important thing was her temperament, which was confident, calm, generous and elegant, which added more points to her. The 9th prince's eyes rose with admiration, and he once again had regrets. If such an interesting beauty was his own, his future life would be more interesting. The 9th prince decided to find the 10th prince later and tell him what he wanted Su Qingni. As his brother, the 10th prince would definitely agree readily. But he still had to go to the palace to tell his mother. Did his mother tell him to marry Su Qingni? Now that he had changed his mind, his mother should support him and stop nagging him, right? Su Qing, I like you. You should stay with me from now on. The 9th prince smiled meaningfully and stared at Su Qingni. I don't have time today. You go to my house tomorrow morning and I will take you to broaden your horizons. Su Qingni. Could she refuse? The 9th prince immediately shouted, you can't refuse, otherwise I will come to your place to find you in person. What else could Su Qingni do? She could only agree. The 9th prince got a positive answer and left triumphantly. Amber asked worriedly, Miss, are we really going to the 9th prince's house to find him tomorrow? Su Qingni sighed, we have to go. Didn't you hear what the ninth prince said? If I don't go to find him, he will come to me. Amber, but the ninth prince doesn't know who we are. He should have known. Su Qingni stared at the back of the ninth prince as he left. I have only been in the capital for 1 day and the ninth prince knew about it. They should know about me because of the fourth prince and the 13th prince, right? It's really troublesome. I am not a heroine, how can I become the focus of the attention of the princes? Trouble. It's really troublesome. Su Qingni sighed. Let's go back to the house. Su Qingni no longer had the intention to visit the capital, and took Amber back to the temporary residence. Back at the residence, Su Qingni simply practiced to improve her strength. Living in this world, strength is the most important thing. Why do people in the rivers and lakes ignore the imperial power? It's because they are so strong individually. They would never succeed in their attempt to overthrow the Qing dynasty and restore the Ming dynasty, but it would be difficult for the imperial court to catch them. Su Qingni would not be a pawn for the princes to fight over, and she relied on her own strength. If she had no strength, how could she escape? But if she was just a weak woman, these princes would not notice her. Before Su Qingni entered into meditation, she wrote a prescription with hundreds of medicinal materials on it. Su Qingni handed the prescription to Amber and asked her to buy the medicinal materials. Amber looked at the prescription and couldn't understand it. Many of these medicinal materials are mutually exclusive. What is the lady going to do? However, although she was puzzled, Amber still went to buy the medicinal materials obediently. There must be a reason for her lady to buy medicinal materials, and she just had to do it. Su Qingni practiced for 36 weeks, allowing the internal energy to return to the Danshan. She opened her eyes and saw that the sky was red. It was already evening. Amber had returned. She put the medicinal materials in the room next to Su Qingni's bedroom and brought dinner into the house. Did the servants sent by the prince's mansion ask you what you bought the medicine for? Su Qingni asked while eating dinner. Amber said, no. These servants only do their own work and don't like gossip. Su Qingni said, the fourth prince's mansion is very good at managing servants. But these people look honest on the surface. After all, they are from the fourth prince's mansion. They will definitely report our affairs to their own masters. If there is anything in the future, avoid them if you can. Amber replied yes. After dinner, Amber cleaned up the dishes and sent them out of the yard, and Su Qingni went into the next room to prepare the medicine. There were only 2 of them living in the yard, and the rest of the servants were waiting outside the yard. Su Qingni didn't worry about being disturbed when she was making medicine. She prepared the pills for fake death. Originally, she wanted to prepare it when she was in Dayang City, but Su's father and mother paid attention to Su Qingni every day because of the relationship between the 13th prince and Su Qingni, making it impossible for Su Qingni to make medicine quietly, so she had to delay it until now. The pills for fake death are not easy to prepare, especially since it is impossible to use magic to make the medicine. It can only be prepared by mortal means, and the preparation speed is even slower. It took Su Qingni a whole night to prepare a fake death pill. Su Qingni yawned and ate breakfast. Amber worriedly served Su Qingni a bowl of white porridge and said, Miss, why don't we not go to the 9th prince's mansion today and catch up on some sleep in the mansion? Su Qingni shook her head and said, if I don't go, the 9th prince will really come to my house. At that time, I'm afraid the 4th prince and the 4th lady will also come to my house. Amber became even more worried after hearing this. What is this? The master and the mistress of the family hope that the young lady will marry the prince, but if there is more than one prince who wants to marry the young lady, it is not luck, but a disaster. Miss, has the 9th prince really discovered our identity? We were dressed in men's clothes yesterday, and even the master wouldn't recognize us if he saw us, let alone a prince he doesn't know. Chapter 259, Qing Dynasty 17. The princes of the royal family are all foxes, not as stupid as my father. Su Qingni said, Amber, you don't have to go with me today. Miss, you stay to help me cover up, don't let other servants find out. Su Qingni blocked Amber's mouth. It would be best if the 4th prince and the 4th lady don't find out more about my contact with the 9th prince. Yes. Amber agreed obediently. She knew that her mission was very important. After breakfast, Su Qingni changed into men's clothes and put on makeup. Today, she no longer just put on simple makeup like yesterday, but made a lot of adjustments on her face. After putting on makeup, it was as if she had become a different person, and her appearance was only 4 or 5 points similar to her original appearance. At this time, she was standing in front of the 4th prince and the 13th prince, and the two of them could not recognize that she was Su Qingni. Su Qingni climbed over the wall from a corner of the courtyard and went all the way to the 9th prince's mansion. She said to the gatekeeper, "I am Su Qing. I met the 9th prince yesterday. The 9th prince asked me to come to the mansion to find him today." The gatekeeper was told by the 9th prince's followers to report to the 9th prince immediately if someone like Su Qing came to the door. The gatekeeper enthusiastically let Su Qingni in, moved a chair for her to sit on, served her hot tea, and sent a boy to report to the 9th prince immediately. This attitude made several officials who came to the 9th prince's mansion to please the 9th prince jealous. They secretly guessed what Su Qingni's identity was, and why the 9th prince paid so much attention to her. Should they make friends with this person? Mr. Su, the 9th master invites you. A servant came over and invited Su Qingni to enter the mansion. Su Qingni nodded and followed the servant in. Passing through the garden and the corridor, Su Qingni was brought into courtyard. The 9th prince was half lying on a recliner in the yard. When he saw Su Qingni come in, he lazily pointed to the stone bench beside him and said, "Sit down." Su Qingni bowed and sat down on the stone bench. The 9th prince only saw Su Qingni's face clearly at this time, and was so surprised that he sat up from the recliner. You are Su Qingni." "Yes." Su Qingni thought to herself that the 9th prince really knew her true identity. The 9th prince couldn't believe it. He looked at Su Qingni's face again and again. He couldn't believe that the person in front of him was Su Qingni. She was completely different from the one he saw yesterday. "What's the matter with your face?" the 9th prince asked. Su Qingni replied, "It's been modified." The 9th prince took a breath and said, "Your level of modification is high enough, it's like a different person." After saying that, he couldn't help but get excited. If his subordinates could have such a skill, it would be convenient to do many things. "We won't go out today," the 9th prince said to Su Qingni. "I'll call a few people over, and you will teach them this technique. You must teach them carefully, otherwise. The most terrifying thing is to keep the threat secret." This is the experience of the 9th prince over the years. However, this trick is useful for others, but it is useless for Su Qingni. Su Qingni nodded. It's just a makeup technique, which doesn't have much technical content. She will teach it. As for what the 9th prince wants to do with the makeup technique, it's none of her business. She thinks that with her participation, the 9 dragons' fight for the throne in this world may be more exciting. So, on this day, Su Qingni taught people the makeup technique at the 9th prince's mansion. The 9th prince found women, which further proved that the 9th prince knew Su Qingni's identity as a woman. The 9th prince watched from the side. This person was very smart. He listened to Su Qingni's explanation and watched others do it. He also learned the makeup technique. When he was in the mood, the 9th prince made himself look like an old man, applied flour on his head, and ran happily to play with his good brother, the 10th prince. The 9th prince never needed to be notified by servants when he entered the 10th prince's residence. He could enter whenever he wanted. But this time, he was actually stopped by the gatekeeper of the 10th prince's residence. "Old thing, this is the 10th prince's residence, you can't just enter whenever you want." The 9th prince was stopped and was a little angry, but when he heard the gatekeeper call him old thing, he couldn't help but laugh. The gatekeeper didn't recognize him. "You are blind, how dare you stop the 9th prince?" Li Shun, the 9th prince's follower, stepped forward and kicked the gatekeeper away. The gatekeeper naturally recognized Li Shun and quickly knelt down to let the 9th prince enter. When the 9th prince disappeared, the gatekeeper communicated with his companions in horror. The old man just now turned out to be the 9th prince. How did the 9th prince become so old all of a sudden? Could it be that he had a strange disease? "Oh my, you have to be a man with your tail between your legs during this period." The 9th prince walked towards the small playground in the residence according to his understanding of the 10th prince. Sure enough, he saw the 10th prince practicing archery in the small playground. "10th brother!" the 9th prince called out. Hearing his 9th brother's voice, the 10th prince put down his bow and arrow and turned around. When his eyes met the 9th prince next to the playground, he was shocked. Ninth brother!" The 10th prince rubbed his eyes, thinking that he had seen it wrong. He rubbed his eyes again and looked carefully again. The facial features were the same as his own 9th brother, but his face was full of wrinkles, his skin was dull, and his hair was gray. The 10th prince almost shed tears. "9th brother, what's wrong with you? Did you get some strange disease?" How come you look 50 years older in just one day? You look older than the emperor? Ninth brother, you quickly find a place to sit down. Don't sprain your old arms and legs. I'll ask someone to call the imperial physician to treat you. As he said that, he stepped forward to support the ninth prince. The ninth prince slapped the 10th prince's hand away and laughed. Old 10, do you think I look older than my father? The 10th prince was worried and anxious. Ninth brother, you are not crazy because you are too uncomfortable, right? Stop laughing and come to the flower hall with me. Li Shun, what are you still doing here? Go to the imperial hospital to ask for a doctor for your master. Li Shun lowered his head, not daring to let the 10th prince see the smile on his face. The 9th prince was even more proud. Haha, old 10, there is no need to ask for a doctor. I am fine, nothing is wrong. The 10th prince felt that the 9th prince was even more seriously ill. You still say you are fine. The 9th prince said, haha, if you want to become like me, I can help you. The 10th prince was so scared that he shook his head. I don't want it. Really? The 9th prince squinted his eyes and approached the 10th prince. The 10th prince took a step back in fear. Oh my, the old face of the 9th brother is really scary. Even though brother 9 was extremely handsome when he was young, he would become ugly as he got older. No, he didn't want to become ugly. Chapter 260, Qing Dynasty 18. No, he didn't want to become ugly. You will beg me to help you. I won't. Stupid. Ninth brother, why did you call me that? You are a fool. Come closer and take a closer look. I don't want to. The 10th prince took a step back. He didn't want to look at the face of the 9th prince, which became ugly when he got old. The 9th prince pulled the 10th prince over and put his face in front of the 10th prince's eyes. Face to face, there was only a fist's distance between them. Look carefully with your stupid eyes. The 9th prince pointed to his hair. It looks gray, right? This is the effect of sprinkling flour on it. He pointed to the dark and sallow skin on his face. This is made by mixing rice paste with other things. He pointed to the wrinkles on his face. These wrinkles are drawn with black stone. The 10th prince opened his eyes wide in surprise when he heard the first sentence of the 9th prince. He looked carefully at the 9th prince's hair and found that there was white powder on it, mixed with a black hair. If you don't look carefully, you really think the hair has turned gray. Then he looked at his face and the wrinkles on it as the 9th prince said, "Great, my brother." The 10th prince slapped his thigh in surprise. When did you learn this skill? Teach me quickly. It turned out that his 9th brother had a strange disease. The 10th prince put aside his worries and excitedly wanted to learn this skill from the 9th prince, so that he could also dress up as an old man and go out to scare people. The 9th prince glanced at the 10th prince. No teaching. 9th brother. Did you want to become like me just now? The 10th prince chuckled twice. That's because I don't know your skills. 9th brother. 9th brother, teach me. Look at your stupidity. It's strange that you can learn it. The 9th prince disliked the 10th prince, but he still asked the servants to prepare makeup tools and teach the 10th prince how to put on makeup. Speaking of which, the 10th prince looked stupid on the surface, but he was more clever than the 9th prince, and learned makeup skills faster than the 9th prince, and also made himself look like an old man. 9th brother, let's go to 8th brother's house to find 8th brother. The 10th prince smiled maliciously. He was frightened by 9th brother, so he had to scare others. 9th prince chuckled and ordered the servants to prepare a carriage. 10th prince said, 9th brother, it will be faster for us to go on horseback. Why take a carriage? 9th prince rolled his eyes at him and said, fool, if we go on horseback, won't our makeup be exposed? What if the old man finds out and really thinks something has happened to us? I don't want to scare my mother. In addition, even if we clear the matter, the magic of makeup will be exposed. How can we use makeup to make some arrangements in the future? 10th prince suddenly realized, and did not complain that the carriage was too slow. He also ordered the servants to find 2 veiled hats, and he wore one and gave one to 9th prince. 9th brother, this way no one else can see our faces. 9th prince gave 10th prince a thumbs up and put one of the hats on his head. So, when the 8th prince heard the servants report that the 9th prince and the 10th prince were looking for him, he went out and saw 2 younger brothers wearing bamboo hats and black veils covering their faces. What are you doing? The 8th prince asked in confusion. Are you learning to dress like the people in the underworld? The 2 unscrupulous brothers laughed and took off their bamboo hats together, and 2 old and ugly faces came in front of the 8th prince. Even if the 8th prince was calm, he was frightened by the two faces and stepped back 5 steps. What's wrong with you? The 8th prince was even more frightened when he saw the faces of the two people clearly. He thought the same as the 10th prince, thinking that the two had a strange disease. At this time, the 8th prince's fear was gone, and he was all worried about his 2 younger brothers. Come on, go to the imperial hospital to ask for the imperial physician quickly. Don't ask for an ordinary imperial physician, ask Zhang Yuanbin. The 8th prince loudly ordered the servants. The 9th prince and the 10th prince quickly spoke up to stop the servants from leaving. One of them grabbed the 8th prince's arm and dragged him into the study. 8th prince, don't worry, we're fine. The 9th prince smiled and comforted the 8th prince, pointing to his hair and face, and repeated what he had just said to the 10th prince. The 8th prince carefully looked at the faces of the 9th prince and the 10th prince, and was amazed. What a magical makeup technique. With such a makeup technique, it will be much easier for our people to do things. I thought so too. The 9th prince said, so I arranged for someone to learn makeup from Su. Su. Have you forgotten, 8th prince? It's the woman from Dayang City. The 4th brother has decided to let Su enter the Prince of Yang's mansion. The 9th prince said. Such a woman must not be allowed to enter the 4th brother's mansion. It is impossible to increase the help of the 4th brother. The 8th prince said, did you go to the palace and tell concubine Yi? Ask concubine Yi to send Su to my 10th brother's mansion. 8th brother, it's not my mansion, but 9th brother's mansion. The 10th prince laughed. 8th brother, you don't know that 9th brother met the young lady in the restaurant and fell in love with her at first sight. He rushed to find me and said that he would not let Su enter my mansion, but wanted Su to enter his mansion. The 9th prince picked up the brush on the table and threw it at the 10th prince's forehead, but the 10th prince dodged it very flexibly. I just think that Su is more interesting, so I didn't fall in love with her at first sight. The 10th prince laughed. 9th brother, there is a saying that explanation is concealment. Conceal your ghost. The 9th prince kicked him, but was flexibly dodged by the 10th prince again. 9th brother, it's not shameful to admit that you like a woman, and your brother won't laugh at you. When you said this, you smiled so big. The 9th prince and the 10th prince forgot their business and started to play. The 8th prince stood aside, smiling and watching his 2 younger brothers play, his face full of tenderness. Even though he had calculations when he first came into contact with the 2 younger brothers, after so many years, he treated the 2 younger brothers sincerely. After a while of quarreling, the 8th prince intervened between the 2 and acted as a peacemaker. This was their usual routine. When the 3 of them sat down again, the 9th prince and the 10th prince had washed off the makeup and flour on their faces and hair, and restored their original appearance. This Su is so capable that we must not let her fall into the hands of the 4th brother. Concubine Yi needs you to remind her again, the 9th prince, that Su cannot enter your house, and cannot enter the 4th brother's house. The 8th prince said to the 9th prince. The 9th prince nodded. Don't worry, 8th brother, I will go to the palace again tomorrow to let mother know the importance of Su. The 4th brother's relationship with concubine is not very good, and he will not explain to concubine what Su's abilities are. Chapter 261, Qing Dynasty 19. 4th brother has a bad relationship with concubine, so he won't tell her clearly what Su's abilities are. Concubine will only think that Su is an ordinary concubine and won't pay too much attention to her. Mother wants Su, and the chances of success are very high. The 9th prince said. The 8th prince nodded. He couldn't help but sympathize with the 4th prince. It was the same as not having a mother. Was it the 4th prince's own problem or concubine's problem? The 8th prince thought it was the 4th prince's problem. Otherwise, he would have been raised by concubine Wei, and he would have had a good relationship with his biological mother, wouldn't he? The 3 of them discussed it and had dinner at the 8th prince's mansion. The 9th prince and the 10th prince left the 8th prince's mansion and returned to their own mansions. When the 9th prince heard the servant report that Su Qingni had already left, he waved his hand to send the servant away. He had originally planned to take Su Qingni out of the city to play today, but he didn't expect Su Qingni to give him such a big surprise, which delayed his trip. He didn't make an appointment with Su Qingni, so that woman would definitely not come to his house tomorrow. It was impossible for him to really go to the courtyard arranged by the 4th lady to look for Su Qingni, because that would expose his interest in Su Qingni. If the 4th prince knew about it, Su Qingni's plan to enter his mansion would be ruined. Li Shun. The servant is here. Find someone and find a way to sneak into Su Qingni's residence. The ninth prince ordered. Li Shun hurriedly reported, Ninth master, there are people among the servants serving Miss Su now. Huh? A few years ago, you asked me to arrange some people to sneak into the mansions of the third master, the fourth master, the 13th master and the 14th master. Among them, because of the strict management of the fourth lady, the servants who sneaked into the fourth master's mansion could only do rough work and could not come into contact with a master. This time, the servant sent by the fourth lady to Miss Su included that servant. Li Shun said, you asked that person to contact Su and tell her that I want to see him and meet at Shunfulao the day after tomorrow. The ninth prince thought that God was helping him and ordered happily in his heart. Yes. Li Shun agreed. An hour later, Su Qingni received a message from the ninth prince brought by a servant. Su Qingni was very calm. After putting on her makeup today, she knew that the ninth prince would not let her go. On the second day, she practiced kung fu in the courtyard for a whole day. On the third day, Su Qingni disguised herself as a man and climbed over the wall to leave the courtyard and headed for Shunfulao. Entering Shunfulao, Su Qingni ran into the 13th prince and the 4th prince, who were followed by several people. One of them was wearing a yellow belt and was also a prince. He looked to be in his 30s. Without the bonus of the 4th prince's male protagonist halo, the man's appearance was not younger than his actual age, and he was just ordinary handsome. It should be the 3rd prince. Su Qingni pretended not to know the two and walked towards the stairs. Wait a moment, brother. The 13th prince spoke. Su Qingni paused and turned to look at the 13th prince with a puzzled expression. Young master called me. The 13th prince looked Su Qingni up and down, his dark handsome face wrinkled. May I know your surname, young master? Have we met somewhere before? Su Qingni bowed and said, my name is Qin Shu, I just came to the capital. I should not have seen you. The 13th prince asked, then do you have any brothers or sisters? Su Qingni shook her head, I am the only child in the family. The 13th prince asked again, then do you have any cousins? Do you have any relatives with the surname Su? Su Qingni pretended to be unhappy. Is this young master checking the household registration? No. The 13th prince was interrupted by the 3rd prince. Where did you come from, kid, and you were rude to the prince? It's your honor that the 13th brother asks you, and you still don't answer honestly. Oh, 3rd brother is so powerful. A voice came from outside the door. My people don't need the 3rd brother and 13th brother to care about them. The 9th prince walked in, came to Su Qingni's side, and said to the others, 3rd brother, 4th brother, 13th brother, have you finished eating or just arrived? If you just arrived, please come with me, I will treat you. No need. The 4th prince refused coldly and said to the 3rd prince, 3rd brother, let's go. The 3rd prince and the 9th prince didn't get along well. Hearing this, he ignored the 9th prince and walked out of Shunfulao side by side with the 4th prince. The 13th prince walked behind them and looked back at Su Qingni with confusion in his eyes. The 9th prince whispered to Su Qingni, he is your good friend, but he didn't recognize you. Su Qingni chuckled, my face now, even my mother wouldn't recognize me, let alone the 13th prince. Yes, your makeup skills are amazing. The 9th prince nodded, can you change your self-proclaimed name? I don't like it. Su Qingni, I am dressed in men's clothes now, do I still need to call myself a concubine? The 9th prince. Whatever you call me. The 9th prince walked in front and took Su Qingni to the box he usually used. Su Qingni's eyes swept around the box and immediately found the mechanism in it, and her face darkened. No wonder the 9th prince easily recognized her identity when she came to Shunfulao for dinner that day. It turned out that the 9th prince eavesdropped on her conversation with Ember. The 9th prince saw Su Qingni's expression and smiled, you are really smart. Su Qingni snorted, 9th master has said this many times. 9th prince said, that's because you always make me feel surprised. I can't express my feelings without saying this. Su Qingni, thank you for your praise, 9th master. I don't praise people for nothing. 9th prince said. Su Qingni said, except for makeup skills, I don't have any other skills that can impress 9th master. You are too modest. Your skills are just that little. Didn't you tell old 13 about potatoes and corn? 9th prince nodded the teapot and asked Su Qingni to pour him tea. Su Qingni knew that after 9th prince and others investigated her, they would definitely ask about potatoes and corn, so she said, potatoes and corn existed, but they were not taken seriously at first. I just mentioned it casually. If I had met ninth prince first, I would have told you. Really? Ninth prince asked with a hint of joy in his heart. Su Qingni nodded. Suddenly, an idea came to her mind. Su Qingni said, in fact, after I told 13th prince about these 3 crops, I also told him something. What is it? Ninth prince asked hurriedly. It's about Western countries. Su Qingni said, Master Jiu, do you know that imported goods are very expensive, and Qing dynasty porcelain, silk and other goods are even more expensive when shipped to Western countries? An ordinary porcelain bottle can be exchanged for a large piece of gold or gems in Western countries. Hearing about making money, ninth prince's eyes lit up. Chapter 262, Qing Dynasty 20. Doesn't the ninth prince like to make money? Then let him make money from foreigners. Moreover, Su Qingni fooled him that if he wanted to make more money, he should go to Western countries to investigate the market in person. When he really went to those countries and saw all kinds of things in Western countries, with his political sensitivity as a prince, he would definitely find that Western countries coveted the Qing dynasty. At that time, there will be one more person who opens his eyes to the world, and the future of this land will have more hope. After fooling the ninth prince, today, the ninth prince did not take Su Qingni to visit the capital. In the following days, the ninth prince was very busy and had no time to find Su Qingni. The ninth prince began to gradually build a fleet, prepare goods, and send people as pioneers to explore overseas. Although he was full of curiosity about the Western countries that Su Qingni mentioned, he was itching to go and see them in person. But he was a prince and could not leave Beijing easily. The ninth prince now hoped that the 8th prince could ascend the throne, so that he could leave the capital at will, right? Time flies, and 2 months have passed. When the 9th prince was shocked to find that he had not yet achieved his goal of taking Su Qingni to tour the capital, Su Qingni was already about to enter the palace for the selection. It was easy to pass the preliminary selection, and generally no one would be eliminated at this stage. To give face to the officials, their daughters would not be eliminated in the preliminary selection. Su Qingni was not eliminated in the second round either. Someone in the palace greeted the selection nannies and palace maids, and Su Qingni would definitely not be eliminated until the end. After the second round, Su Qingni and the remaining 50 or so girls were arranged to enter the palace and live in a row of houses next to the signing garden. Su Qingni lived in a room with 2 other girls. Originally, there were 4 people in one room, but the other one fell ill before entering the palace and was unable to enter the palace, so there were only 3 people in this room. Of course, there were also 2 people in one room, but they were all noble ladies of high birth in the upper 3 banners. Su Qingni was only a Han army banner, and her father was only a 4th-rank official, which was considered to be of medium to low status for a girl, and she was not qualified to live in a double room. The other 2 were Niahulu and Zhang Jia. Niahulu was not ordinary. Her father was Ling Zhu, a 4th-rank official. Su Qingni paid more attention to Niahulu. The future old Buddha looked very kind, with an oval face and a round figure. She was not very pretty, but could only be considered delicate. However, this kind of appearance and figure was exactly the type that the mother-in-law and the first wife liked. She could give birth to children but would not be too favored by men. Another roommate, Zhang Jia, was prettier than Niahulu. Although she was not as beautiful as the original, she was also a little beauty. But she was a little timid. Because Niahulu looked kind, the girl regarded Niahulu as an old man and was very close to Niahulu, but she didn't talk much to Su Qingni. Niahulu's temper was as kind as her appearance. She could talk to anyone in a friendly manner and was also very kind to Su Qingni. In response, Su Qingni smiled. This girl has a deep ambition hidden in her eyes, and making friends with others is one of her tactics. At first, Niahulu didn't take Su Qingni and Zhang Jia seriously. Even though they were prettier than her, she didn't care too much about them. The 2 people's backgrounds were not as good as hers, and as for their looks, although they were prettier, Niahulu knew that her looks would be more liked by the concubines, mothers-in-law, and the legitimate wife, making them feel at ease. Therefore, she had a greater chance of entering the prince's backyard than these 2 people. In this case, why should she have a bad attitude and create 2 enemies for herself? However, after Niahulu found out that Su Qingni and Zhang Jia were summoned by concubine Da, concubine Yi, concubine Wei, and concubine Liang respectively, but she was not summoned by several concubines, Niahulu felt a little panicked. Didn't her mother say that people like her are the most favored by the concubines? Why did the concubines favor Su Qingni and Zhang Jia, but not her? Niuhulu immediately regarded the two people as her biggest rivals, but on the surface she still interacted with Su Qingni and Zhang Jia with a smile on her face, and she also showed Zhang Jia a sisterly expression. Su Qingni would naturally not be deceived by Niuhulu. No matter how well Niuhulu hid her emotions, could she hide it from Su Qingni, a great god who had lived for tens of millions of years and experienced the world in many worlds? What's more, Niuhulu was just a 14-year-old girl, and her ability to hide her emotions was not high. On this day, Su Qingni was called by concubine Yi to drink tea and chat again. Concubine Yi's attitude showed that she had taken a fancy to Su Qingni and wanted to leave Su Qingni to her son. As for which son, she didn't know. After concubine Yi showed this attitude, concubine didn't summon Su Qingni again. She didn't know Su Qingni's talent, and it was the fourth wife who asked her for Su Qingni, not the fourth prince, and she thought her son didn't care too much about such a woman. Anyway, there are so many concubines, just find another one. So, Niuhulu fell into her sight. However, she was a little unwell these 2 days and did not summon any concubines, so that one concubine thought that 2 roommates were blocking her way. Returning to her residence, Su Qingni found that the residence was very lively at this time, and a group of concubines gathered outside a room to watch the excitement. A nanny brought 2 big palace maids and 2 little eunuchs to search in the house. After a while, a big palace maid found a valuable piece of jewelry from the concubine's gift. The concubine shouted loudly for injustice but was still taken away, and never came back. It was a very simple and crude way of framing, but it was very effective. The nannies didn't care who the person was framed. Anyway, whoever found the things would be convicted and could only be driven out. The nannies and palace maids didn't have the time and energy to find out whether it was a false accusation and who was the mastermind behind it. They were just here to teach the palace people who took care of the concubines, not the constables of the Ministry of Justice. Moreover, if someone can be framed by such a simple means, then the person who is framed is a fool. Such a person cannot adapt to the life in the palace and the backyard of the royal family. It is better for him to find someone to marry after returning home. At least he can live longer. Su Qingni thought that this method had been used once and no one would use it again, but the problem is that the result of this method is too good, and there are still people who will use it to get rid of their opponents. For example, now, Su Qingni found a bracelet in her gift. The bracelet is made of the finest mutton fat white jade, with a little bright red on it, which makes the value of the bracelet even higher. She estimated the price of the bracelet, at least 3,000 taels. In order to get rid of herself, that person is really willing to spend money. Chapter 263, Qing Dynasty 21. Su Qingni held up the bracelet and chuckled. She had heard the chaotic footsteps coming from far away. Oh my, where should I hide such a big bracelet? No matter where I hide it in the house, it will be found. But I am not like the heroines in those Qing Dynasty dramas who have space or something. This world has severe restrictions on me. I am not allowed to sneak in things like low-level storage bags. Su Qingni looked at the bracelet inside. Such a precious bracelet was ruined. It was a waste. Thinking of this, the spendthrift Su Qingni still put the bracelet in the palm of her hands, closed her palms, and then opened them. There was no expensive bracelet in her palms, only very fine powder. Straightening the teacup that was placed upside down on the table, Su Qingni put the powder into the teacup, filling half of the teacup. Su Qingni picked up the teapot, which was filled with tea, but it was cold. Su Qingni slowly poured the tea into the teacup, and the yellow-brown tea covered all the powder. Although Su Qingni didn't want to be the prince's woman, she would not be driven out of the palace in such an ignominious way. If she really got such a reputation, her mother and brother in Dayang City would also be affected. The original scumbag father might be angry with them because of this matter. Moreover, Su Qingni didn't think that the 9th prince and the 4th prince would let her go after she was driven out of the palace. At that time, they would use other means to let Su Qingni enter their backyard. In this way, she naturally couldn't let herself be framed and let the person who framed her be proud. Su Qingni slowly picked up the teacup and put it to her lips. At this time, the door was pushed open. Aunt Zhang, who manages all the concubines, walked in. Miss Su, I'm sorry. Miss Niuhulu, who lives in the same room with you, had her bracelet stolen. We had to come in to search and prove the girl's innocence. Aunt Zhang said to Su Qingni. Su Qingni put down the teacup and nodded to Aunt Zhang, A person of integrity has nothing to fear. Please, Aunt Zhang. Aunt Zhang looked at Su Qingni with some regret in her eyes. She thought Su Qingni didn't know that she was framed. She thought it was a pity for this girl. Concubine Yi was very optimistic about her, but after this incident, Concubine Yi would only give up on her. Aunt Zhang waved her hand, and 2 big palace maids and 2 young eunuchs entered the room and searched it carefully. Su Qingni's luggage was opened by them, and her clothes and jewelry were placed aside one by one. Su Qingni's bed was also carefully searched, and the bedding, cushions and pillows were all taken apart. However, except for Su Qingni's own things, no extra items were found. Aunt Zhang smiled, and Niu Hulu's face, who was standing by the door, cracked, and Zhang's eyes beside her flashed again and again. Miss Niu Hulu, your bracelet must have fallen somewhere else, right? Nanny Zhang said to Niu Hulu, you should think about where it fell and look for it yourself. After that, Nanny Zhang took the palace maids and eunuchs and left. Niu Hulu's expression was distorted and her face was burning. She could hear the ridicule of the surrounding beauties. She was trying to steal a chicken but ended up losing the rice. Her bracelet, that was her mother's dowry, the most valuable jewelry in their family, worth 5,000 taels, and it was gone just like that. And she hadn't framed the person she wanted to get rid of yet. Su Qingni picked up the teacup on the table and walked to the door without even glancing at Niu Hulu and Zhang Jia who were standing there. She poured the tea in the teacup into the flowers and said lightly, it's dirty. After that, she returned to the room to pack her bed and luggage. Niu Hulu's expression became even more distorted, and Su Qingni's actions clearly showed her disdain for her. Damn woman, why don't you just die? Give me back my bracelet. However, Niu Hulu didn't dare to say this, so she could only hold it back, showing a smile like usual, and said to Su Qingni, Qingni, I'm sorry, I just lost my bracelet, and I was too anxious at the time, so I ran to find Aunt Zhang. I don't think you took the bracelet, and Aunt Zhang's search was just a routine matter. Su Qingni replied indifferently, it's okay. The bracelet worth thousands of taels is gone. Considering your family's financial situation, it is indeed a big deal, and it is understandable that you are panicking. It's a pity that such a valuable bracelet, I'm afraid it can't be found, right? My condolences. Alice for you. Niu Hulu almost bit her silver teeth. Humph, failure this time does not mean failure next time. I will definitely find a chance to get rid of Su Qingni and Zhang Jiaxumani. This matter soon spread to the ears of several ladies in the palace. Concubine Yi smiled happily. She is worthy of being the woman my son likes, she has some means. After hearing what happened, Concubine Yi gave up her previous thoughts. This Niu Hulu is stupid and vicious, so just give up. Niu Hulu didn't know that her road to great wealth was cut off by her own hands. She failed to frame Su Qingni, and felt that Su Qingni was difficult, so she decided to deal with Zhang Jia first. It was still a common frame-up. When the showgirls entered the palace, they couldn't bring in many things, so they could only rely on simple and crude means to deal with their opponents. Of course, there are those who rely on drugs to deal with others, but even if the hairpin is hollow, how much medicine powder can be put in it? Niu Hulu is not like those showgirls with rich family background who can take out medicine powder that harms people without being detected. She can only use simpler and cruder methods to harm people. So, she fell into the water again. It seems that falling into the water is the most common scene in the showgirl selection. Seeing Zhang Jia struggling in the water, Su Qingni rolled her eyes and jumped into the water to save her. However, just as he swam to Zhang Jia's side, the weak concubine Su Qingni's leg cramped. Not only did she fail to save the person, but she also sank into the water. The eunuchs who heard the noise rushed over to save the people. Soon, both of them were rescued and brought to the shore by the young eunuch. Just as they were about to hand the people over to the palace maids waiting on the shore, they saw a pair of hands reaching out from the side, pulling Su Qingni from the eunuch's arms and holding her in their own arms. Everyone stared at the man holding the fallen concubine in the water. Wearing a yellow belt, this is the prince. Hello, 8th master, hello, 9th master. The eunuchs and palace maids kowtowed to the two men. The concubines finally knew the identities of the two men. They all looked at the woman in the arms of the 9th prince with envy, wishing that person was themselves. If they had known that the two princes would pass by the signing garden, they would have gone into the water to save people. Niu Hulu's teeth were broken. How could this happen? Why is it that every time I frame someone, Su Qingni always ends up getting what she wants? Is she my nemesis? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264, Qing Dynasty 22. The ninth prince carried Su Qingni back to her room and sent his followers to invite the imperial physician. By the way, Zhang Jie also received good care and treatment. When the news reached the harem, concubine Yi immediately went to Master Kang and asked him for Su Qingni. Master Kang naturally agreed. Su Qingni had already had physical contact with the ninth son. Who else could she marry if not the ninth son? Master Kang issued an order to give Su Qingni to the ninth prince, and at the same time issued an order to give Zhang Jie, who had fallen into the water with her, to the eighth son as a princess. Zhang Jie fell into the water and was seen by the eighth prince, so naturally she could not marry anyone else. The girls were jealous, envious and hateful when they heard the news. They all regretted why they were not the ones who fell into the water. Niu Hulu's intestines were ruined. What is she? Making wedding clothes for others? The future has been determined, and Su Qingni and Zhang Jie no longer need to participate in the subsequent selection. The two were sent out of the palace and returned to their own residences to recuperate. Zhang Jie lived in her relative's house. Her relatives were very happy to know that she had entered the eighth prince's mansion. They worshipped her like a bodhisattva and served her with good soup and medicine. It didn't take long for Zhang Jie to recover. But Su Qingni had caught a cold since she fell into the water. After leaving the palace, it was not easy for her to live in the private property of the fourth lady as the woman of the ninth prince, so she moved to the inn. During this period, Su Qingni became even sicker. When the Su family got the news and came to the capital, Su Qingni had died of a serious illness. The Su family was so depressed. It was not easy to raise an aunt who could bring benefits to the family, but she was a poor fortune and died before entering the prince's mansion. Su's father was so angry that he didn't even have his daughter's body transported back to Dayang City for burial. He directly asked the servants to find a place near the capital to bury the person. Su's mother was cowardly. Although she blamed Su's father for being too cruel, she didn't dare to say it out loud. She could only hug her son and cry. Su's father's move really made things easier for Su Qingni. 3 days after the coffin was buried, the grave suddenly exploded and Su Qingni flew out of the coffin. She stretched as if she had just had a good sleep. Relaxed. The coffin lid was closed again and the soil was covered. Su Qingni left leisurely, and from then on, the sky was high and the birds flew freely. 2 days after Su Qingni left, a handsome man came to the grave with several followers. One of the followers took out a roast chicken and wine from the food box and placed them in front of the tombstone. Another follower took out incense, candles and paper money and lit them. But their master was circling around the grave. "Master, do you want to burn 2 pieces of paper for Miss Su?" Li Shun walked to the side of the ninth prince and asked, and stopped his master from circling around. By the way, what's wrong with his master? What's the point of circling around other people's graves? No. The ninth prince waved his hands impatiently, his eyes fixed on the grave mound. "Li Shun, do you see any difference between this grave mound and the other grave mounds?" Li Shun followed the ninth prince's line of sight to see if there was anything different about the grave mound. But since his master asked him, he had to look carefully and see some difference. Then, he really found the difference. "Master, this grave mound is newly built." "Nonsense. This person has only been buried for a few days, so the grave mound must be newly built." The ninth prince knocked Li Shun's forehead with his fan. "No, master, this newly built grave mound is also different." Li Shun said hurriedly, "It rained heavily 5 days ago, and the rainwater penetrated into the soil, so even the newly built grave mounds would become more compact. But look at this grave mound, the soil on it is still so loose, it should be that someone moved this grave mound after the rain stopped." The ninth prince's peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly, and a guess arose in his mind. "Go find some tools and dig up this grave for me." The ninth prince gave an order. "Master." Li Shun was shocked. No matter how reckless his master was, he could not dig up other people's graves. The dead are the most important. If they disturbed the dead souls, what if the ghosts came to chat with them in the middle of the night? "Hurry up." The ninth prince shouted, his anger almost bursting out. Li Shun didn't dare to say anything more, so he had to take a few servants to find tools, and then dug up the grave to reveal the coffin inside. The ninth prince half squinted at the coffin and ordered, "Open the coffin lid." Several servants could only open the coffin lid. Huh? Everyone who opened the coffin lid expressed surprise. The ninth prince shouted, "Everyone, get out of the way, you are blocking my view." The servants quickly moved to both sides, revealing the scene inside the coffin. The ninth prince saw that the coffin was empty, and he laughed out of anger. "You are so good, Su Qingni. You don't want to marry me, but you even faked your death. You don't want to be my woman, but I want you to be my woman. No matter where you run to, I will find you. Li Shun. The servant is here. Ask our people to secretly look for Su Qingni." "Yes." Li Shun agreed. "Go back to the mansion." The ninth prince let out a long breath, turned around and was about to leave. After a few steps, he paused. "Restore the grave mound. Don't let others see that there is no one inside." Li Shun agreed and arranged a few people to handle the follow-up. He followed behind the ninth prince, thinking that his master really cared about this Miss Su, and he helped to conceal it in case Miss Su's fake death was exposed. But this Miss Su is really capable. Not only does she have magical makeup skills, but she also understands medical principles. She faked her death so that doctors can't diagnose it. No wonder the ninth prince cares about this girl. This girl is too different from other women. Not long after the ninth prince left, the 13th prince also came to pay tribute to Su Qingni. However, the 13th prince was not as careful as the ninth prince. He did not find any signs that the tomb had been disturbed, and naturally did not know that Su Qingni was not dead. He just felt sorry for Su Qingni. Such an outstanding woman was gone. How unpredictable things are. Su Qingni didn't know that the ninth prince had discovered that she had faked her death and sent people to look for her secretly. She changed her makeup and returned to the capital. She hadn't had a good time in the capital for so long since she came to the capital. Now that the ninth prince was gone and pretending to be a big shot in front of her, she could go around as she wanted. But before that, she had to find Amber to see if the girl was willing to leave with her. The servants of the Su family had not left the capital yet, and Amber lived with these people. When Su Qingni went there, she saw Amber talking to a middle-aged man. She recognized that the middle-aged man was Amber's biological father. The relationship between the father and daughter was good. Watching their interaction, Su Qingni did not show up again, turned around and left. She already knew what choice Amber would make. Chapter 265, Qing Dynasty 23. Su Qingni used makeup to increase her age by 10 years, and made more changes to her face. This time, the transformation was not just about makeup, but about mobilizing her internal strength to change the muscles of her face. This was inspired by the Thousand Faces young master's disguise technique. Because of this, even if the ninth prince learned the makeup technique, he would not give way to Su Qingni when he met her face to face. Therefore, Su Qingni was very confident and bold to stroll on the streets of the capital. The capital is much more prosperous than Dayang City. There are many things that Dayang City does not have, especially there are many imported goods stores. Seeing the high prices of those glass products sold in the store, Su Qingni pinched her chin. Should I take out the glass manufacturing process to exchange for money? The answer is yes. Although Su Qingni had been preparing to leave the Su family early in the morning, she had too little silver to control. She now had less than 2,000 taels of silver. If you want to live a good life in the future, the more silver the better. But who should I sell the recipe to? The first person who came to Su Qingni's mind was the ninth prince. I have to say that the ninth prince is really a good choice. Even though he is the emperor's prince, his business depends entirely on his own ability, and rarely on power. Of course, his status is there, and he doesn't need to rely on it, and others will naturally be at a disadvantage when doing business with him. Su Qingni is not afraid that the ninth prince will do something bad to her, and she is not a vegetarian. If the ninth prince wants to seize the recipe, she will run away immediately, and teach the ninth prince a lesson before leaving. Thinking of this, Su Qingni came to Shunfulao with a craft recipe for glass making that she wrote down. "Waiter, I have a recipe to sell. Can you call your boss?" Su Qingni ordered a table of delicious dishes and asked the waiter while eating. "Sir, our restaurant is not short of recipes." The waiter replied with a smile. Perhaps other restaurants would pay great attention to hearing that someone is selling recipes, but what is their Shunfulao? Their chef is a royal chef, and other chefs are also famous chefs from all over the country. Shunfulao has all kinds of cuisines from all over the world. Will they care about a small recipe? Maybe the recipe this person wants to sell is available in his restaurant. Su Qingni put down her chopsticks, elegantly took out a handkerchief to wipe the corner of her mouth, and said, "It's not a recipe, but a recipe for glass." Glass. The waiter was surprised. Although he was just a waiter in a restaurant, he had seen many people and heard many things, and his knowledge was not the same as that of ordinary people. The waiter naturally knew how valuable glass was. It was an imported product, and the price started from thousands of gold. Only truly wealthy people could afford glass utensils. "You mean glass? Not something else?" the waiter asked in disbelief. "Yes," Su Qingni said, "it's glass, the kind of transparent glass like crystal. In this way, can you call the person who can take charge? Please wait." The waiter changed to a respectful title and went out very quickly. Later, the waiter brought several dishes that were obviously expensive at first glance and placed them in front of Su Qingni. "Guest, this is the best and most expensive signature dish of our restaurant. The shopkeeper invites you to try it." Su Qingni nodded, picked up the chopsticks and began to eat slowly. As expected of the most expensive dish, it tasted really good. While eating, Su Qingni circulated her internal force to convert the food entering her stomach into energy. There were quite a few dishes, and she ate them all. The waiter was amazed at her fighting ability. The door of the private room was knocked, and then a man in his 40s came in. It was not the 9th prince, but his steward. No matter how important the glass matter was, the 9th prince with such an identity would not easily meet anyone. Su Qingni had a conversation with the steward. At first, the steward wanted to lower the price by relying on the status of the 9th prince, but after seeing Su Qingni casually crush a wine glass into powder, the steward stopped lowering the price. The two parties made a deal at a price that Su Qingni was quite satisfied with. The main reason was that the production process written by Su Qingni was too detailed, and the key points that needed attention were marked one by one. The manager did not need to arrange people to study it, and the work could be started directly, which saved a lot of trouble. That's why the manager paid the silver to buy the production recipe so readily. And Su Qingni did not pay for this meal, which was treated by Shen Filao. Su Qingni left Shen Filao very satisfied with the silver bills in her pocket. "Master Zhu, do you want us to?" A follower of the manager watched Su Qingni stuff such a large stack of silver bills into her arms, and was envious. He came to the manager and said something. The manager's mitrail-like smile immediately turned cold. "Just you. Master Zhu, don't you know the skills of our brothers? It's easy to deal with such a pretty boy." "Haha." The manager sneered, 10 of you are not enough for him to beat with one hand. Don't look at his gentle and thin appearance, he is a first-class player in the world. How is it possible?" The follower didn't believe that Su Qingni would be so powerful. The steward snorted coldly, "The most praiseworthy thing about you, Master Zhu, is that you have such a pair of eyes that can read people. I warn you, don't offend this person. This person is a first-class master at a young age, and it is said that he has some background in the world. If you offend him, you will die miserably. Master Zhu, I will not offend such a powerful person for you." The follower shrank his neck and stepped aside when he heard the words. No one dared to take advantage of Su Qingni again, but Su Qingni still changed her appearance and clothes very cautiously and went shopping in the capital. Now she is a big shot, and the glass-making recipe was sold for 100,000 taels. Su Qingni now drinks 2 bowls of bean juice, 1 bowl for herself and 1 bowl for the beggars on the roadside. A woman in white clothes and a white flower on her head appeared in Su Qingni's sight. 2 terms popped up in Su Qingni's mind: little white flower. By Yinshuang. Of course, the woman walking towards her was not by Yinshuang, and Su Qingni did not travel through time to grandma drama. This woman was someone Su Qingni knew, Lu Ying. The white dress was Lu Ying in mourning. As the saying goes, a person should look pretty in mourning clothes. It was true. Lu Ying's white dress softened the heroic spirit she had shown in the martial arts world, and made her delicate features look even more delicate. On the street, many men looked at Lu Ying openly or secretly. Some people came forward to talk to Lu Ying, but Lu Ying just raised the sword in her hand, and those people retreated in disappointment. Those who did not retreat were also pushed away by the Taoist priests beside them. "Junior sister, let's go to the home of Chief Escort Li first." Taoist priest King Su was impatient with these men who kept coming up to chat with her. Chapter 266, Qing Dynasty 24. LV Ying also felt impatient with the men who kept coming forward. After listening to the words of Taoist King Su, she nodded in agreement. The two of them grabbed an elderly man, asked for directions, and walked quickly in one direction. Su Qingni followed the two and watched them enter a escort agency called Wu Wei. Su Qingni has learned a little about the underworld forces in the capital for so long. Because the capital is the base camp of the court, the underworld forces are suppressed. There are not many underworld forces here, and even if there are, they are supervised by the court. This Wu Wei escort agency is one of them. The chief escort of the Wu Wei escort agency is highly skilled in martial arts, good at monopolizing, and has contacts with powerful people. Most of the business he does is for powerful people. And Chief Escort Li also takes care of the passages in the underworld, and is known as Little Mengcheng. This makes Chief Escort Li very popular in both the white and black ways. Knowing where LV Ying lives, Su Qingni left. She had a hunch that a good show was about to be staged in the capital. Su Qingni, who was going to leave in a few days, decided to stay for a while longer. She rented a small courtyard and recruited a few beggars who looked good to run errands for her and clean the house. Every day, Su Qingni went out for a stroll in addition to practicing. During this period, she met the 4th prince, the 8th prince, the 9th prince, and the 13th prince, none of whom recognized Su Qingni. She met Lu Ying again. This time, Lu Ying changed into men's clothes and put something on her face to make her skin dark yellow, so that she was no longer approached by men. Lu Ying went out alone this time. She came to check the place. Lu Ying first went to a family's door and walked around for a few times, then went outside the Forbidden City, frowning at the tall city walls and the guards for a long time. For several consecutive days, Lu Ying went out to check the place. Su Qingni, who had been paying attention to her, knew that the owner of the family she checked was a master of the Qing court, Su Shilin, a guard who was more trusted by Master Kang and had very good martial arts. Su Qingni also learned from the conversation between Lu Ying and her senior brother that Lu Ying was the only one left in the Lu family. The Lu family underestimated the Qing court's masters, thinking that their plan to conceal the truth would not be discovered by the Qing court. However, the Qing court masters still discovered the Lu family through clues and found traces of the Lu family helping Di He and others. The Qing court masters then arrested the Lu family. Lu Ying was not on the Lu mansion at that time, but was with Di He. When she got the news and returned to the Lu family, all the Lu family members were dead. Lu's father knew that his family would have no way to survive after being arrested, so he chose to commit suicide, and Lu's mother followed her husband. Brother Lu fled with sister Lu and his son, but was still discovered by the Qing court masters. During the pursuit, Brother Lu and his family of 3 jumped into the river and were washed away by the river. The river is turbulent, and the possibility of people who fall into it surviving is very small. LV Ying changed into a white dress to mourn for her family. She didn't hate Di He and others who brought disaster to her family, but hated the Qing court masters who hunted down their family. She also hated Master Kang, the supreme ruler of the Qing court. LV Ying made a vow in front of her parents' graves that she must kill the Qing court masters who killed them, and even more so the Qing emperor. So LV Ying went to Beijing. She didn't have the ability to sneak into the palace to kill the emperor, so she had to choose to kill the emperor's running dog, the direct murderer who killed the LV family, Su Shilin, who was the leader of the LV family incident at the time. A few days later, everyone in the capital knew that a daring rebel had sneaked into Su Shilin's house to assassinate Su Shui. Although Su Shui was not killed, he was seriously injured, but the assassin was not doing well either, and was seriously injured by Su Shui. Now, the Nine Gates Admiral has sent people to search the capital for the rebel who escaped after being injured. Su Qingni's residence was searched for a long time, but no one was found. The officers and soldiers took the money Su Qingni gave them and left. Wu Wei escort agency also went to search, and found several outsiders, but none of them were injured and had nothing to do with the rebels, so the officers and soldiers also left with the generous money given by Li Zong escort agency. But they didn't know that one of the outsiders they talked to was the leader of the largest rebel organization. "Where is Miss Lu going?" Di He was very worried. "I heard that Miss Lu was injured. I wonder if it's serious." Taoist King Su was also worried about his junior sister. "I'll go out and look for her." Li Zong escort stopped Taoist King Su. "The officers and soldiers are searching the whole city now. If you go out at this time, you may be arrested as a suspicious person." But I don't know where my junior sister is. Taoist King Su pushed Li Zong escort agency away and was about to go out, but this time he was stopped by Di Hea, who was also worried about Lu Ying. Master, Miss Lu should be safe for the time being. Di Hea said. If Miss Lu died or was caught, the soldiers would not search for her so extensively. I think Miss Lu must have been rescued by someone. But junior sister doesn't know anyone in the capital who would save her. Maybe it's a righteous man who is dissatisfied with the Qing court. These people don't know that in addition to knowing them, Lu Ying also knows other people in the capital. The person who saved Lu Ying was not a righteous man who resisted the Qing court, but a central figure in the Qing court, the royal prince. Lu Ying woke up and found herself in an unfamiliar room. Lu Ying wanted to jump up immediately, but she was seriously injured. Her body couldn't keep up with her thinking reaction at all, and her limbs were weak and limp. She just lifted her upper body slightly and then collapsed, unable to move anymore. However, her move alarmed the other people in the room. A person dressed as a maid hurried over, met Lu Ying's eyes and retreated. Lu Ying was confused and wanted to stop the maid to ask about her current situation, but the maid also knew martial arts and moved quickly out of the room. Lu Ying was helpless, her mouth was dry and she wanted to drink water. After a long while, Lu Ying heard footsteps outside the door again. Then the door curtain was lifted, and a familiar face that Lu Ying had been thinking about day and night entered her eyes. Looking at this handsome face with worry, Lu Ying's nose was sore and she shed tears of grievance. Ai Zhen, the fourth prince, hurried forward, half-lifted Lu Ying, and carefully examined her wounds. Where do you feel uncomfortable? Ai Zhen. Lu Ying threw herself into the arms of the fourth prince and burst into tears. My family is dead, I only have you. The fourth prince had no friendship with Su Qingni, so he didn't know about the Lu family. This time, Lu Xiniang escaped to his carriage after being injured, and he knew that Lu Xiniang went to assassinate Su Qingni. But he hadn't found out why the assassination was committed for a while. The fourth prince hugged Lu Xiniang tightly, gently stroked Lu Ying's back with one hand, comforted her, but his eyes narrowed. Chapter 267, Qing Dynasty 25. The fourth prince comforted Lu Ying, fed her medicine, and fed her white porridge. He did all this personally, which shocked Su Qingni and the maid who was designated to serve Lu Ying. He also paid more attention to Lu Ying. You know, even the young princes in the mansion have never been fed or given medicine by the fourth prince himself. The master really cares about this girl. Lu Ying was seriously injured and had no energy. After eating, she fell asleep again. The fourth prince covered her with a quilt and walked out of the room. Go and find out what happened in the Lu family. Yes. Su Qingni left. More than 2 hours later, he came to the fourth prince's study and reported the news to the fourth prince. The fourth prince's aura became colder and colder. He thought that Lu Ying's assassination of Su Qingni was a personal grudge. Su Qingni was also a gangster before he became a guard, and Lu Ying was also a gangster. The fourth prince thought that there was a grudge between the two, but he never thought that the Xiandahu would be involved. The Lu family was actually involved with the Xiandahu, and the order to arrest the Lu family was issued by the emperor. The royal family and the Lu family have become enemies. What should I do with Lu Ying in the future? With Lu Ying's personality, it is already difficult for her to accept that she already has a wife and concubines, and there is also a family feud. The fourth prince feels that there is no hope between him and Lu Ying. However, Lu Ying is the only woman he has fallen in love with in his life. He does not want to let go of this relationship. He wants Lu Ying to be his woman. What should I do? What should I do? Su Qingni. The servant is here. How is the search outside? My lord, the people of the 9-city military department have been dispatched and the search is very strict. What about the city gate? You can only go in but not out. This sentence is troublesome. He originally wanted to take advantage of Lu Ying's coma to send her to live in his own manner outside the city. You must know that living in the mansion, no matter how strict your defense is, there will be the risk of leaks. Especially Lu Ying is not someone who can be locked up. She is in the Yongjin prince's mansion, and sooner or later she will discover her identity. Su Qingni was indeed the #1 confidant of the fourth prince. He understood his master's worries and spoke to help him solve his problems. Master, I bought a 2-story house in Dongcheng. No one lives there. Do you want to send Miss Lu there to recuperate? Okay, go and arrange it quickly. The fourth prince gave Su Qingni an admiring look, which made Su Qingni happy. This time he made the right choice again. Lu Ying was still in a coma. Su Qingni arranged for someone to carry her to his house in a carriage. As the mistress of the palace, how could the fourth lady not know what happened in the palace in the past few days? But she didn't ask about it as before and was the most virtuous wife. But when she woke up in the middle of the night, the fourth lady, who was lying alone on the bed, would let her tears wet the pillow. Dongcheng is an area where rich people live, mostly Han people live here, so the fourth prince concealed his identity very well. With a good medicine and soup, Lu Ying's injury healed quickly. The fourth prince came to accompany Lu Ying every day, and the relationship between the two became better. If it weren't for Lu Ying's mourning, the two of them would have gotten married. Lu Ying is now like the fourth prince's concubine, but she herself doesn't know this identity. She thought the fourth prince was just the son of a businessman, and she wanted to marry him after she was no longer in mourning. Of course, she never gave up the idea of assassinating the emperor. She thought that after living in the capital for a long time and knowing the capital better, she would have a better way to sneak into the palace and assassinate the emperor. As for whether it would implicate her lover, she really didn't think about it for a while. When the fourth prince was away, Lu Ying went out to the Wuwei escort agency to meet Taoist King Su, Dihaya and others, and reported her safety to them. "Junior sister, where have you been these days? Are your injuries healed?" Taoist King Su asked hurriedly after seeing Lu Ying. Dihaya also looked at Lu Ying with concern. Lu Ying smiled and nodded, "My injury has healed. Brother, I am living in a safe place now, you don't have to worry about me." Dihaya said, "Miss Lu, in order not to drag down the heroes who saved you, you should move back." Lu Ying shook her head and refused. "He won't be implicated by me. Even if he is implicated by me, he won't blame me." When she said he, her tone was intimate, which made Dihaya's heart skip a beat. "Miss Lu, who is this he you are talking about?" "His name is Aizhen, he is from the capital, and his family is in business. He lives in Gihu Lane in East City." Lu Ying told her the information that the fourth prince let her know. "Is he reliable?" Dihaya expressed his doubt. "Could he be a lackey of the imperial court, pretending to be your savior, deliberately approaching you, and infiltrating between us through you?" Aizhen is not a lackey of the imperial court. Lu Ying was angry that her beloved was suspected, but considering Dihaya's identity and Lu Ying's higher favorability towards him than towards others, Lu Ying's attitude towards Dihaya was relatively good. "I have known Aizhen since we were in Dayang City, and he didn't approach me on purpose. Sorry." Dihaya had to apologize. He felt so sad when he heard Lu Ying defending the man named Aizhen. "Anyway, I'm living well in Aizhen's house now, you don't have to worry about me." Lu Ying said to everyone, "Wait until the security at the city gate is relaxed, then you can leave the city first." "Junior sister, what about you?" Taoist King Su asked with concern, "Aren't you leaving with us?" "No, I want to stay in the capital to find an opportunity. Su Qingni is only injured, not dead yet. I must kill him so that I can have the nerve to go back and burn incense to my parents, brother and sister-in-law. Also, I will not give up on assassinating the Tartar emperor. In the capital, I can better find opportunities to see if I can get into the palace." Lu Ying said. "Then we will stay too." Dihaya said, "Assassinating the Tartar emperor is our common goal, and we can't let you do this alone. Your target is too big if you stay in the capital." Lu Ying disagreed with Dihaya and others, saying, "I am just a woman, I won't attract the Tartars' attention. But it's different for Di Gongzi, the Tartars are determined to capture you. If you stay in the capital for too long, you may be discovered by the people in the inner court. You should go back to Jiangnan first." Dihaya knew that Lu Ying was right, but he just didn't want to leave, didn't want to be too far away from Lu Ying. He was afraid that if he separated from Lu Ying this time, he would never have any chance again. Lu Ying belonged to another man completely. "Chief, Miss Lu is right, let's wait until the martial law at the city gate is lifted and leave the city immediately." Tao Zhengai persuaded Dihaya on the side. Dihaya sighed deeply. He was not alone, he had a group of brothers, so he couldn't be willful and could only leave. Chapter 268, Qing Dynasty 26. LV Ying left Wuwei escort agency and walked on the street. Suddenly she heard an excited voice calling her. "LV Ying, A Ying." The voice was very familiar, so familiar that LV Ying could not help but frown. She turned around and saw the 14th prince walking towards her with a smile. "Jin 14. LV Ying said, "I don't know you well, please ask me Miss Lu. You can't call me a Ying." "A Ying, A Ying." Jin 14 called her several times, and said to LV Ying proudly, I called her, how about it? That look was so annoying that the 80 or 93 princes behind him covered their faces. He still wanted girls to like him like this? Dreaming? Even a child would not use such childish means to attract the attention of girls. Anyone. LV Ying slapped him, and the 14th prince dodged in a hurry. He was used to this when he was in Dayang City. Every time he provoked LV Ying would attack him. The 14th prince's martial arts skills were the best among all the princes, and he was barely able to dodge Lu Ying's attacks. Why are you so enthusiastic when we just met? The 14th prince dodged and spoke in a flowery manner, whether I hit you or scold you, you still love me as always. Lu Ying, shut up. Although she was angry, her attacks were not strong, otherwise the 14th prince would have been beaten down by her long ago. Although the 14th prince spoke in a flowery manner, he was Lu Ying's admirer after all, and he was young, handsome, and a very good man. Lu Ying still had some differences in her feelings towards the 14th prince. The 14th prince chuckled a few times and begged for mercy, okay, I won't say anything, I won't say anything. LV Ying stopped her hand, and the 14th prince came forward, Under LV Ying's warning gaze, the 14th prince retracted the word Ying and changed the address. Miss LV, when did you come to the capital? Why didn't you come to see me? LV Ying rolled her eyes at the 14th prince with contempt. I didn't even know you were from the capital, how could I find you? Well, now you know, you can come to me often in the future. The 14th prince smiled. Where do you live? I'll come to find you. I'm very familiar with the capital and can be your guide. No need. LV Ying refused. If she wanted to visit the capital, she would have Ajahn to accompany her, so she didn't need this Jin 14. After saying that, she turned and left. The 14th prince opened his mouth to call LV Ying, and 80, 90, and 3 people came over. 14th brother, who is this girl? Why don't you introduce her to the brothers? The 10th prince put his right hand on the 14th prince's shoulder and winked at the 14th prince. Brother, you have a good eye. This girl is beautiful and hot, and it suits my taste. The 14th prince slapped the 10th prince's hand and gave the 10th prince a warning look. This girl is mine, don't try to hide on her. Even if you are my brother, I won't give her to you. Unlike the 10th prince and the 14th prince, the 9th prince can't see that Lu Ying is good. Isn't it just martial arts? What's good about fighting and killing? How can Su Qingni be as capable and interesting? The 8th prince stared at Lu Ying's back as if he was lost. It's not that he thinks too much, but this woman named Lu Ying is indeed suspicious. It wasn't long after Su Qingni was assassinated, and all of them knew what happened and that the assassin was a woman. And Lu Ying is a woman who knows martial arts. The 8th prince intuitively feels that she is related to the assassination of Su Qingni. The 8th prince said, 14th brother, what is the origin of this Miss Lu? How do you know her? The 14th prince was still very much like the 8th prince at this time, and when he heard the question, he quickly answered, I knew Niangniang in Dayang City. She was from a scholarly family. Dayang City? Scholarly family. The 8th prince thought of someone. Could she be the granddaughter of Lu Zhishan? The 14th prince nodded. Yes, Niangniang has studied with her grandfather since she was a child. She is knowledgeable and talented. The 8th prince couldn't help but smile bitterly. He patted the 14th prince on the shoulder and said, 14th brother, you should have forgotten about this Miss Lu. Why? The 14th prince asked back dissatisfiedly. The 8th prince said, some time ago, Su Qingni was ordered by the emperor to leave the capital to deal with a family that colluded with the Xianzhu to restore the Ming dynasty. The head of the family committed suicide, and the younger generation escaped and fell into the river and died. That family was the Lu family in Dayang City. Not long ago, Su Qingni was assassinated by a female assassin. I think it was this Miss Lu. I think she is the only one left in the Lu family. She is full of hatred and came to Beijing to seek revenge. The 14th prince was dumbfounded. 8th brother, you are not lying to me, right? You can ask someone to go to Dayang City to check and see if the Lu family is gone. The 8th prince said. The 14th prince punched the roadside bun stall in annoyance, smashing the table. The buns on the table rolled to the ground and were snatched away by beggars in a short while. The owner of the bun stall wanted to cry but had no tears. He wanted to find someone to settle the account but didn't dare to step forward. The people in front of him were obviously nobles, so how could he dare to step forward and provoke them? The 8th prince adhered to his usual kind personality and signaled to his follower, who walked to the side of the bun seller and gave him a piece of silver. This silver was enough to buy all the buns, and there was still some left over to buy a new table. The boss's crying face immediately turned into a smiling face, and he kept saying good things about the 8th prince, which made the 8th prince's follower very satisfied. The good reputation of his master spread a lot. 14th brother, there are many women in the world, such a tricky flower, you should give up. The 9th prince came up to persuade the 14th prince. No, it's rare to meet a woman I like, I won't give up so easily. The 14th prince said stubbornly, isn't it just Su Qingni? Kill him. She can't kill him alone, I can help her. Let her owe me a favor, so that I can ask her to stay by my side. The problem is that this woman is in collusion with the traitors. 8, 9, and 3 people think that the 14th prince was bewitched by Liu Ying, and he didn't care about anything for Liu Ying. Isn't he afraid that the emperor will find out that he is having an affair with a rebel woman and will imprison him in anger? He also wants to kill Su Qingni. Killing Su Qingni is easy, but it will offend many people. Who will work for a prince who only cares about women in the future? The 8th prince and the 9th prince looked at each other and exchanged ideas. There are both advantages and disadvantages for the 14th prince. With such a stain and weakness, they can use the 14th prince without worry. Just because the 14th prince has colluded with the rebels, the emperor will not let the 14th prince inherit the throne. Chapter 269, Qing Dynasty 27. The 4th prince listened to the report from his subordinates. Liu Ying went to the Huai escort agency and met the 14th prince and the 8th prince on the way. The 4th prince snorted coldly. 14 actually knew Ying when he was in Dayang City, and he also had feelings for Ying. Humph, he actually competed with me for a woman. Fortunately, Ying doesn't like him. But 14 is a stubborn person and will not give up Ying easily. And the 8th prince is not a good person. He will definitely understand Ying's identity through 14's words, and he is more likely to guess that Ying assassinated Su Qingni. It's very troublesome. It seems that I have to find something for the 8th prince to do to divert his attention from Ying. The 4th prince tapped his fingers on the table rhythmically, and he had already made up his mind several ideas to pit the 8th prince in the court. After thinking about how to pit the 8th prince, the 4th prince instructed Su Qingni, let someone accidentally reveal the matter of Huai escort agency to the 8th prince's people. Unexpectedly, the Huai escort agency was on the side of the court on the surface, but in fact it was also colluding with the Xiandahu. Humph, if that's the case, there's no need for them to exist. The 4th prince would never admit that he wanted to destroy Di He and his companions because he knew that Di He, the chief leader of the Xiandahu, loved Liu Ying. After the 8th prince returned to the mansion, he sent people to investigate Liu Ying. He didn't find out where Liu Ying lived now, but he found out that Liu Ying had entered the capital with a group of people from the Xiandahu, and that the people from the Xiandahu were now hiding in the Huai escort agency. This was all the information secretly handed over by the 4th prince's people. The 8th prince immediately went to the palace to report the information to Master Kang. Master Kang naturally sent troops but did not hand them over to the Huai escort agency. It's a pity that the Huai escort agency is so big and powerful that everyone in the capital knows about it. At this moment, seeing that the Huai escort agency was surrounded, everyone was extremely surprised, and the news spread quickly. Liu Ying also heard the news, picked up her sword, and was about to go to the Huai escort agency to help her senior brother and Di He and others. But as soon as she left the room, she was blocked by the 4th prince. Don't go. The 4th prince said. Do you know where I'm going? Liu Ying asked. The 4th prince sighed. Since I saved you, how could I not guess that you are the one who assassinated Su Qingni? I guess you know everyone in the Xiandahu? Now that the government is besieging the Xiandahu, you will definitely help them out of chivalry. Since you knew everything, you shouldn't have stopped me. If I didn't stop you, would I just watch you die? I won't die. With the entire Jiachang Bingmisi plus the 1,000 elite soldiers in the Zishan camp, who can resist their attack? Ying, no matter how good your martial arts are, you are still afraid of a kitchen knife? A random punch can kill a master. You have no chance of winning in a battle with the army. You will really die. I will be sad if you die. But my senior brother is still in the Huai escort agency. Ying, if you go, you will only die with your senior brother. If you don't go, you can keep your life and avenge your senior brother and others. Revenge? Can I only take revenge after the fact? Lu Ying cried. She was not there when the Lu family was exterminated, and she could not save the lives of her father, mother, brother, sister-in-law, and nephew. Now it is the same. She can only watch her senior brother fall into danger. She has no way to deal with it, and can only take revenge after the fact. For the first time, she felt useless. The fourth prince came forward and hugged Lu Ying, gently patting Lu Ying's back to comfort Lu Ying. Lu Ying's tears wet the clothes on the fourth prince's chest, but she is a chivalrous woman after all, a chivalrous woman with a tough temperament. Soon, Lu Ying stopped crying, raised her head, and gritted her teeth and said, I will definitely avenge my senior brother and them. The fourth prince silently helped Lu Ying wipe the tears from her cheeks. He is the mastermind behind the death of Lu Ying's senior brother. This secret must be covered up, and Lu Ying must not know it. And this basin of dirty water can be transferred to other people. I checked through my connections. It is said that it was the 8th prince who discovered the relationship between Wu Wei escort agency and Xiandahu, so the emperor sent people to encircle and suppress Wu Wei escort agency. 8th prince. LV Ying chewed these 3 words hatefully, and remembered the man firmly in her heart, thinking that she must cut off this man's head and bring it to her senior brother's spirit to pay tribute to her senior brother. 8th prince, you are a sinister 4th prince. LV Ying frowned and asked doubtfully, General Li's escort agency has been doing well in the capital in recent years. No one suspects that he has a relationship with Xiandahu. How did the 8th prince know about it? 4th prince said, don't underestimate the power of the court. The Lu family helped Xiandahu escape. Did the court find out? And what? LV Ying asked. 4th prince asked, did you meet anyone on the way to Wu Wei escort agency a few days ago? I met Jin Shixi. LV Ying said. Then, her face changed. She remembered that the Manchu surname Azinjiro was translated into Jin in Chinese. Jin 14, Jin 14. Why didn't she think of it? Apart from the emperor, which family would have so many sons? Jin 14 is the emperor of the Qing court. It was him, he discovered my whereabouts, and thus discovered that my senior brothers were in the Xiandahu, and he sent people to encircle and suppress the Wu Wei escort agency. LV Ying shouted angrily. Maybe. The 4th prince blamed the 14th prince without any guilt, and was proud in his heart. LV Ying regarded the 14th prince as an enemy, and would not have any entanglements between men and women with him in the future. LV Ying hated the 14th prince as the 4th prince thought, and regarded the 14th prince as her next target after killing the 8th prince. However, it was not easy for her to kill the 8th prince. Not to mention that the guards around the 8th prince were much more than those in Su Qilin's mansion. Even the 4th prince would not let LV Ying go out and kill people rashly. The 4th prince appealed to LV Ying with emotion and reason, and presented facts and reason to her, pointing out how many guards were around the 8th prince, and since Su Qilin was assassinated, the defense around important figures in the capital has become tighter, and LV Ying can no longer easily succeed. Therefore, LV Ying has to lie dormant at present, and wait until the incident has passed for a long time, and those people have relaxed, and then LV Ying will go for revenge. LV Ying listened to the 4th prince's words, and no longer thought more about going out to help the people of Wu Wei escort agency fight with the officers and soldiers. She was held by the 4th prince's waist and walked back to the room. Now in her heart, the 4th prince is the most important. Gradually, LV Ying can no longer leave the 4th prince, and her love for the 4th prince is getting deeper and deeper. This is exactly the purpose of the 4th prince. He wants LV Ying to love him so much that she can't extricate herself, and love him so much that she can give up herself. At that time, it was time for him to confess his identity to LV Ying. Su Qingni was watching the excitement on a street not far from the Wu Wei escort agency, with a group of people who loved to watch the excitement around her. Although most people hide at home because of fear, some martial artists who were proud of their skills stood outside to watch the fun. Chapter 270, Qing Dynasty 28. Some people in the martial arts world who were proud of their skills stood outside to watch the excitement. They were not only watching the excitement, but also trying to get information. After all, the soldiers were besieging the Wu Wei escort agency, a major force in the northern martial arts world. These people in the martial arts world did not know how the Wu Wei escort agency had offended the government. They were worried that the government would attack other martial arts forces after destroying the Wu Wei escort agency. Su Qingni's 5 senses were sharper than everyone else's, and she could see more clearly than others. She saw that the fighting on the battlefield was very tragic. Although the people in the Wu Yi escort agency were highly skilled in martial arts, there were too many soldiers, and several people worked in a group to cooperate tacitly. Even if the people in the Wu Yi escort agency were highly skilled in martial arts, they eventually died in the hands of ordinary soldiers. All the people in the Wu Yi escort agency who resisted died, including the famous Li Zongbiao Tao in the martial arts world. Others were either injured and captured or seriously injured and waiting to die. Only one person escaped, and that was Di He, the chief leader of the Xiandahu. He was able to escape successfully thanks to his brothers, who risked their lives to help him open an escape route. None of the brothers survived, they were all hacked to death. Even though Di He escaped the encirclement, he was seriously injured. If he could not escape from the capital, if no one reached out to help him, Di He would still die in the end. However, should we say that he is worthy of being one of the male supporting roles and is taken care of by God? Di He was not caught by the officers and soldiers, and he fell into the yard of a certain family. When Su Qingni returned to her residence, she saw the orphan she had recruited surrounding the unconscious Di He, and were about to discuss what to do with this person. He is about to die, let's save him. A child about 7 years old said. If Lu Ying saw this child, she would recognize that this child was her nephew Lu Shu, who she thought was dead. Lu Shu was able to survive, half by luck and half by his parents' desperate efforts. After jumping into the river with his parents that day, his parents knew how to swim and swam hard with him to the other side of the river bank. Halfway through, his mother lost her strength and sank into the river. His father pushed him to the shore with his last breath, and then he sank into the river himself. The child was lucky and was eventually found and rescued by people on the shore. However, without his parents and other relatives, the child eventually became a beggar. Later, he drifted to the capital and was taken in by Su Qingni. What if he is a bad guy? Wouldn't it be a bad thing if we saved him? Another child, Xiaojia, objected. Another child, Xiaoyi, also objected. Maybe he is the person the government wants to arrest. If we save him, won't it cause trouble for the young master? Yes, this is the young master's home. It's up to the young master to save people or not. Xiaobing agreed. Xiaoding, the young master is not at home. Xiaoyu, even if we want to save people, we don't know medical skills. The children. Xiaolu was facing the gate and saw Su Qingni walking in from outside. He said, the young master is back. A group of children quickly stood up and walked over to salute Su Qingni. Su Qingni waved her hand. Okay, go do your own things. But sir, there is one more person in our yard. Lu Shu hurriedly replied. I've seen it, I will deal with it, you don't have to worry about it. Su Qingni said. Then she walked to Di He, grabbed his clothes on the back, lifted him up, and took him into the wing room. Xiaojia, clean up the blood in the yard. Su Qingni's voice came out. Xiaojia, the oldest, quickly agreed and took Xiaoyi and Xiaobing to clean the blood in the yard with water. Xiaobing was smart. He ran outside the yard with Lu Shu, Xiaoyu and Xiaolu. When he saw the blood on the ground, he covered the blood with sand. After doing all this, the children went to do their own things. Xiaojia took Xiaoyi and Xiaobing to do horse dance in the yard, while Xiaoding, Lu Shu, Xiaoyu and Xiaolu went to the room to write big characters. Su Qingni was good to these children. Although she asked them to run errands, she taught them martial arts and reading and writing, so that the children could learn skills and survive on their own when they grew up. Su Qingni brought the man into the house, fed Di He medicine for internal injuries, applied medicine for external injuries, and bandaged the wound. No matter whether it was medicine for internal injuries or external injuries, Di He could not find it. She did not have a good impression of Di He as she did of Zeman Yu, so she did not give Di He the medicine she made. When doing this, she remembered the situation when she rescued Zeman Yu. Zeman Yu was not seen in the encirclement and suppression battle of Wu Yi escort agency this time. Did he not come to the capital? It was not bad luck. Otherwise, she would not save him again. And with Zeman Yu's martial arts and his status in the Xiandahu, he would never be able to escape like Di He, and would only become a stepping stone to help Di He escape. After doing all this, Su Qingni lifted a large stone slab under the bed and threw Di He into the hole under the stone slab. This hole should have been dug by the original owner of the house to store treasures. Su Qingni found it the next day after moving in. Unfortunately, Everything inside had been emptied, leaving nothing behind. It could only be used to hide people. Su Qingni hid, walked out of the house, and threw the blood-stained bedsheet directly into the stove. The child hurried over to ask for clarification. Su Qingni said, "The person has been rescued and hidden by me. When the officers and soldiers come to search us later, you can say that you didn't see anything. Do you understand?" "I know." The child nodded vigorously. Although they are young, they have seen a lot and know what to say and do, and what not to say and do. They cherish the days that Su Qingni has taken them in. They don't want Su Qingni to be taken away by the officers and soldiers because of the sudden appearance of people. They don't want such days to disappear, and they don't want to beg for money anymore. Of course, they can now read and write and have learned some basic skills. They can support themselves with the skills they have learned and don't have to beg for money anymore. Good boy. Su Qingni stretched out her hand, touched the top of each child's head, and said to them, "Today I will reward you with roast chicken." "Thank you, sir." The children cheered happily. Su Qingni smiled and took out a silver ingot and handed it to Xiaojia. "Go buy 3 roast chickens and some other dishes, and we will have a good meal tonight." Xiaojia took the silver and whispered to Su Qingni, "Sir, don't you want to buy some medicine?" "No need." Su Qingni said, "That man won't die." Xiaojia no longer cared about Dihaya and went out with the silver. He was 12 years old this year and had been a little beggar in the capital for 5 years. He was very familiar with the capital and would not be abducted by human traffickers. Before Xiaojia came back from buying roast chicken, the officers and soldiers came to the door. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271 Qing Dynasty 29. The officers and soldiers searched the house carefully, leaving no corner untouched. However, the hole was under the bed, and it was well concealed, so the officers and soldiers did not notice its existence. When Xiaojia came back, the officers and soldiers were about to leave. When they saw the roast chicken in Xiaojia's hand, they grabbed it. Xiaojia had no choice but to run again to buy a roast chicken. After all the officers and soldiers in this area had left, Su Qingni opened the hole and caught the people inside. Dihaya had already woken up. He woke up when the officers and soldiers entered the house to search. Originally huddled in a dark and narrow space, Dihaya was still a little frightened, but when he heard the sound of the officers and soldiers searching, he realized that he might have been rescued, and now the officers and soldiers were searching him. So Dihaya calmed down and did not dare to make any noise. "Thank you for saving me, brother." Dihaya leaned weakly against the head of the bed and clasped his fists to thank Su Qingni. Su Qingni was not as kind to Dihaya as she was to Xiaojia. She just replied calmly, "You jump into my house, I have to save you even if I don't want to." Oh. Dihaya didn't know how to respond. The man in front of him seemed to dislike him. Su Qingni really didn't like Dihaya. Although Dihaya was handsome and talented, he could be said to be the dream lover of many girls, but Su Qingni just couldn't like this man. She felt that their 3 views were seriously incompatible. Su Qingni simply handed him over to a group of children to take care of him. She hardly appeared in front of Dihaya every day, and she would not tell Dihaya about Western countries like she brainwashed Xiaojia. She was sure that even if she told him, this person would not take it seriously and would only ignore it. When Dihaya's injury was healed, he immediately asked to leave. Dihaya felt that he was not welcome by the host, so he would naturally not stay here. The guests said goodbye, and Su Qingni, the host, had to show up. Dihaya thanked the man who saved his life to Su Qingni and said goodbye. Su Qingni nodded to show that she understood and wished the guest good health and hoped that he would not get hurt again. Dihaya said that he was very skilled and would not get hurt again. He thought that even if he got hurt again, he would not ask Su Qingni for treatment again. Su Qingni politely sent him out the door. When Dihaya was about to leave, Su Qingni suddenly asked, "Mr. I wonder if Mr. Xiaojia is okay." Dihaya turned around in surprise. "Mr. Su knows my brother Xiaojia." Su Qingni smiled slightly, with an expression of "I saved you because I know him." Dihaya didn't expect that he had benefited from others, and replied, "Brother Xiaojia has gone on a long journey to the sea." "Going to the sea? To a Western country?" Su Qingni expressed her satisfaction. She was right about Zimenu. After leaving Su Qingni's residence, Dihaya did not leave the capital. He was worried about Lu Ying. Although LV Ying did not live in the Wuyi escort agency, she had been in and out of the agency. Dihaya was worried that LV Ying would be noticed and implicated. Dihaya still had some people in the capital. Half a month later, Dihaya knew where LV Ying lived. Because Su Pisheng was a eunuch, he was not allowed to own private property, so his house was in the name of someone else. Naturally, Dihaya's men could not find out that this property had anything to do with the fourth prince. They just thought that the person who took in LV Ying was just an ordinary wealthy family in the capital. Dihaya jumped into the yard where LV Ying lived, scaring the maid next to LV Ying. "Don't be afraid, this is my fellow villager." LV Ying went to comfort the maid Dongsu. "Go make a cup of tea." Dongsu looked at Dihaya deeply, lowered her head quickly, and left the two. After sending the maid away, Lu Ying immediately walked to Dihaya and said with concern, "Mr. I'm so glad to see that you are okay. Is my senior brother okay too?" Dihaya said with guilt, "I'm sorry, I'm the only one who escaped." Tears welled up in Lu Ying's eyes. "I was prepared. With so many soldiers, my senior brother would definitely not be able to escape." Dihaya stretched out his hand to wipe Lu Ying's tears, but before his hand touched Lu Ying's face, Dongsu came in with a teacup. "Mr. Please have some tea." Dihaya withdrew his hand, resenting Dongsu for coming in at the wrong time. Dongsu sneered in her heart and stood behind Lu Ying. "Miss, I have something to say to your lady, can you please step aside?" Dihaya said. Lu Ying wiped her tears and drove him away. "Dongsu, please go out." "Yes." Dongsu responded and left. Lu Ying didn't know that even if Dongsu left, her conversation with Dihaya would be heard by Dongsu. Dongsu is not an ordinary girl, she is an elite trained by the stick-sticking department. Although Dongsu's martial arts are not as good as Lu Ying and Dihaya, her other skills are really good. One of them is lip reading. "Mr. You'd better leave the capital as soon as possible. The imperial court has the strongest power in the capital. If you continue to stay, you may be discovered by the imperial court again," Lu Ying said. Dihaya asked Lu Ying, "What about you? Do you want to leave the capital with me?" Lu Ying shook her head. "No, I'm safe here. Zhen is also a local snake in the capital and can protect me." These days, the officers and soldiers came to search, and they were all easily sent away by Zhen. Dihaya couldn't help jealous, but he is just an ordinary person. What if he knows your identity and reports you to the government? Lu Ying smiled happily. "Zhen already knows my identity, he won't hurt me." Dihaya felt depressed, and he was very uncomfortable looking at Lu Ying's happy expression. It seems that Lu Ying's lover has a very good relationship with her, and it is impossible for him to take Lu Ying away. Dihaya sighed and asked, "So you want to get married and live an ordinary life, and not take revenge?" "Of course I will take revenge," Lu Ying said. "How can I forget the hatred of exterminating my family? And I will also take revenge for my senior brother." Dihaya asked, "Will that Zhen support you in taking revenge?" "Of course Zhen supports me," Lu Ying said, "but a lot of things have happened recently, and the Qing court has been much more alert. Zhen asked me to lie low for a while. I will take revenge when I have the chance in the future. By the way, Zhen has helped me find out that it was the 8th prince of the Qing court who discovered the relationship between the Wuyi escort agency and the Xiandahu. This is my fault. I met a man in Dayang City, but I didn't expect it to be the 14th prince of the Qing court. That day I was coming back from the Wuyi escort agency and met the 14th prince on the way. The 8th prince who was traveling with him discovered my relationship with the Wuyi escort agency and suspected the Wuyi escort agency. It was all my fault that the people of the Wuyi escort agency were implicated." Lu Ying said self-reproachfully, "I will avenge them." Chapter 272, The Qing dynasty passes through to the 30. When the fourth master heard the report from his subordinates, his face was so dark that ink could drip out. Dihaya. The fourth master chewed on this name that he had heard before but didn't care about, and his tone was full of murderous intent. "If you don't leave the capital quickly after escaping death once, then you will never leave." The fourth prince gave a cold order, "Send out the blood droplets, I want to see Dihaya's head before the sun rises tomorrow." "Yes." Su Qingni saw Dihaya in her yard again. This time, Dihaya was injured more seriously. His neck was cut and his head was almost cut off. If this person was not unconscious, Su Qingni would like to ask, "Didn't you say you would never come to my house again?" Seeing the three people holding strange weapons chasing Di Hea into her yard, Su Qingni sighed helplessly. The appearance of this weapon is like a bird cage, with blades exposed around it and a long iron chain tied to the top. With such a representative appearance, Su Qingni recognized it at a glance, the blood droplet. Did the fourth prince establish the flying guillotine so early? Su Qingni looked at the three people who came over and said innocently, "Who are you? Why did you jump into my yard? Don't you know how to respect the host?" The one who answered her was the flying guillotine coming towards her. Su Qingni sighed again, she knew it. No matter whether the people in this yard have any relationship with Di Hea, the people of the flying guillotine will not let anyone in this yard go. The fact that the fourth prince secretly organized the flying guillotine must not be exposed, and anyone who sees them will be silenced. Su Qingni didn't want to kill anyone, but in this situation, she had to kill people. There are children in the yard, they are still young, and they can't die. Therefore, the only ones who will die are the enemies who invaded their yard. Su Qingni took action. Her martial arts skills have been cultivated to a very high level, and the three flying guillotines joined forces and had their throats cut by Su Qingni before they could last 10 moves. Xiaojia, Xiaoyi. All the children ran out of the house with pale faces. Although they had suffered a lot and seen dead people when they were beggars, they were still very scared to see the bloody scene at such a close distance. Su Qingni pointed at Di Hea and said to Xiaoyi, "Move the person into the house where he lived before. He has medicine in his arms. You bandage him and don't let him die." Then he said to Xiaojia, "You carry a body, follow me." Xiaojia swallowed his saliva, walked to the body of a blood-dropper, carried it on his shoulders, and looked at Su Qingni. Su Qingni stepped forward and picked up a body in her left and right hands respectively, and said to Xiaojia, "Follow me." Fortunately, it was midnight and it was very dark outside, so no one noticed the two of them. Su Qingni did not take Xiaojia far, but went to the yard where Lu Ying lived and threw the body into the yard. The house where Su Qingni lived was not far from Lu Ying's, both in Dongcheng district. After throwing it, Su Qingni stood on the wall and sneered at the room where a certain gentleman lived. I wonder what the fourth prince would do when he saw the bodies of the three blood-dropping darts? What would his reaction be? Of course, he would have someone deal with the bodies immediately. The blood-dropping dart is his most hidden secret power, and he must not let anyone else find out. But, the blood-dropping dart he sent to hunt down Di Hea actually appeared in the yard of Lu Ying's residence. Who did this? Was it accidental or intentional? If it was intentional, did someone find out that he was raising blood-dropping darts? Is this a warning to himself? Thinking of this, the fourth prince was terrified. He casually perfunctorily said a few words to Lu Ying, and then let his men leave with the bodies of the blood-dropping darts. Lu Ying was surprised but did not doubt the bodies in her yard. She did not know the existence of the blood-dropping darts, so naturally she did not doubt the people around her. Turning her side back to Su Qingni was extremely disgusted with Di Hea for running to her yard again and causing trouble for them. But the person had been saved, and she couldn't just throw him out. If Di Hea was caught by the soldiers, and she was so angry that she told them that she had treated Di Hea, wouldn't she become an accomplice of the rebels? At that time, she could only escape with the children. Xiaojia, go to Tongzhou port and check if there is any fleet of the 9th prince. If there is, come back and tell me. Su Qingni ordered Xiaojia. Xiaojia is the oldest among the children and the most prudent one. Xiaojia will do everything Su Qingni asks him to do very well. Su Qingni is very confident in him. Half a day later, Xiaojia came back and told Su Qingni the news he had inquired about. There is indeed a fleet of the 9th prince at Tongzhou port, but it will set off in 3 days. It is said that it is loaded with silk, porcelain and other commodities to go overseas, and go to sea to make money from foreigners. Su Qingni thought that the 9th prince was really making a big move. He just sent out a fleet 2 months ago, and now he is sending out another fleet. He is really rich. But it's just right. Su Qingni bought a carriage, loaded the unconscious Di Hea into the carriage, and drove the carriage to Tongzhou port. At the port, Su Qingni found the person in charge of the 9th prince's fleet and asked if they were going to the west. The person in charge and Su Qingni were dressed very well, and their temperament was even more noble. Thinking that she was of a good status, she naturally answered the question in a good tone. Sure enough, their fleet was going to Europe. The fleet that set out 2 months ago was going to Southeast Asia. Su Qingni took out 1,000 taels of silver and gave it to the steward. I have something I want to ask for your help. After receiving the silver note, the steward's attitude became better, and he hurriedly said, Sir, please tell me what you need. I will definitely help as long as I can. It's like this. Su Qingni said, I have a friend. He offended someone in the Central Plains and can't stay there anymore. He wants to go to the west to try his luck. At least he has a way to survive. The steward understood. It's just a small matter. Let your friend get on the ship. Well, my friend is injured and has been in a coma these days. I'll send him on board. Injured and unconscious. The steward was a little worried. He won't be seriously injured and die on the ship, right? If he dies, sir, don't blame us. Don't blame us. Su Qingni said, if he dies, it's just his bad luck. You just throw his body into the sea. Oh. The steward now doubted Su Qingni's words. Maybe the person she sent on board was not her friend at all. Maybe he had offended this person, so he simply exiled him to a place where barbarians lived. Su Qingni brought Dihea on board, and the steward arranged a room for Dihea. Seeing Dihea's pale face after being seriously injured, the steward confirmed his guess. This person must have had a grudge against Su Qingni. Chapter 273, Qing Dynasty 31. When Dihea woke up, he found himself in a very small room. He was surprised that this should not be Su Qingni's home. Then where was he? He was sure that he was saved by Su Qingni again, otherwise his wounds would not have been bandaged, and he would not have had the chance to wake up. At this time, the door was opened, and a thin middle-aged woman walked in with a tray. On the tray was a bowl of fish soup and 2 mixed flour buns. The meal was simple. The middle-aged woman was not surprised to see Dihea awake. She just put the tray next to him and turned away. Dihea hurriedly called out to the middle-aged woman, Auntie, please stay. Where is this place? The middle-aged woman turned around and replied, This is on the boat. On the boat? Dihea asked in surprise, Where's this boat going? The middle-aged woman, the west. Dihea, where's the west? As far as he knew, there was no such place name. The west is the country of the foreign devils. What? Dihea almost jumped up, but his body was too weak to support his action. He could only stare at the middle-aged woman with wide eyes. Is this ship heading to the country of the foreign devils? Yes. Stop the ship. I want to get off the ship. I want to get off the ship. Dihea shouted, I want to go back. The middle-aged woman, the ship has reached the sea and cannot return. If you don't want to go to the west, get off the ship at the next supply point and then find a way to go back. Dihea, where's the next supply point? The middle-aged woman, I heard it is in a port in a country called India. India. It's ancient Shiansu. Dihea almost vomited blood. Even if he got off the ship in Shiansu, it would be a long way from the Qing dynasty. I want to see Su Qingni. Dihea called Su Qingni's alias. The middle-aged woman, there is no one named Su Qingni in our fleet. Dihea, then why am I on your ship? The middle-aged woman, I don't know. Dihea was about to spit again. A few days later, Dihea accepted his fate. What else could he do? Should he jump off the boat and swim back to the Qing dynasty? Of course not. In this vast ocean, there was no island to be seen. If he jumped into the sea, he would simply be courting death. When he arrived in Shiansu, Dihea's injuries had not healed yet, and he could not get off the ground, nor could he get off the boat. The sea was not a good place to heal his injuries. In addition, Dihea was seasick, and after all this tossing and turning, Dihea recovered even slower. So, Dihea was taken to the west by boat and finally landed in France. Dihea did not know foreign languages, and knew nothing about the west. He almost starved to death in France. However, he had good kung fu, and after being a thief for several times and working hard to learn foreign languages, Dihea finally settled down abroad. But that was several years later. Time flies, and a few years have passed. The children adopted by Su Qingni have grown up a lot. Xiaojia is already 16 years old, and the youngest Xiaolu and Lu Shu have become young men. In the past few years, they have worked hard to practice martial arts, and the results are remarkable. Xiaojia's skills can be ranked first class in the martial arts world, and the other children are also second-rate masters. In addition to martial arts, Su Qingni also sent several people to study in private schools. If there are any of them who want to take the imperial examination, Su Qingni will not object. Anyway, although these children help Su Qingni with work, they are not slaves, and they are not enslaved, so they are eligible to take the imperial examination. On this day, Lu Shu and Xiao Wu returned home from the private school. Lu Shu was very absent-minded and almost put rice into his nostrils while eating. Xiao Shu, what's wrong with you? Xiao Jia, as the eldest of the group of children, cares about his younger brothers and sisters the most. Seeing that Lu Shu was so abnormal, he asked, I seem to see my aunt. Lu Shu raised his head and said in an uncertain tone, Didn't you say that your parents and relatives are dead? Why did an aunt appear now? Xiao Yi asked. Lu Shu replied, My aunt was not at home when the incident happened at my house. Xiao Jia asked, Are you sure that the person you saw before was your aunt? Lu Shu shook his head, I can't confirm. But that person really looks like my aunt. Su Qingni did not eat with the children. She stayed in the house alone, but her ears were sensitive and she could hear the children's conversation clearly. So she said, In that case, go to the place where you saw your aunt and ask around to confirm if it is your aunt. If so, it will be a happy event for you and your aunt to reunite. I can also support one less person in the future. Lu Shu's face fell and he cried, Master, don't you want me anymore? Su Qingni, you have relatives to take care of you, and you still want to eat my food for free. I won't eat for free, I will pay. Master, don't chase me away. Lu Shu panicked. He didn't want to leave this small courtyard, didn't want to leave his friends, and didn't want to leave the master who was so kind to him and taught him how to practice martial arts and read. The years he lived with the master and his friends were happier than the days he lived in his own home. And his aunt. Although his aunt was his relative, he rarely saw her even when he was at the Lu family. His aunt was always out and about, and she spent very few days at the Lu family each year. He did not have a deep relationship with his aunt, not as deep as his relationship with his friends. He found his aunt because he wanted to tell her about the misfortune of the Lu family, and of course he also wanted to have another relative. He did not want to lose his relatives and leave his son and his friends. Xiao Yu patted Lu Shu's head with a smile, Silly, the son is kidding you. Lu Shu blinked and asked stupidly, Really? Everyone else laughed, and Lu Shu was relieved. The next day, Lu Shu went to look for his biological aunt. But he did not find her. The day before, the person who looked like Lu Shu's biological aunt should have passed by there. Lu Shu did not lose heart, and went to that intersection to wait for a month. Finally, he waited for the person he was waiting for. On this day, Lu Shu did not return to the courtyard. He followed his aunt to her residence. The next day, Lu Shu and his aunt and uncle came to the courtyard with heavy thank you gifts. Su Qingni realized how small the world is. It turned out that Lu Shu's aunt was Lu Ying. Lu Ying was dressed as a lady, with a slightly protruding belly. It seemed that she and the fourth prince had already gotten together and had a child. Su Qingni put on makeup, so Lu Ying naturally couldn't recognize her. Lu Ying was very grateful to Su Qingni. If Su Qingni hadn't taken her in, it would be unknown whether her nephew could survive. Moreover, Su Qingni not only took in these children, but also let the children learn martial arts and literature. Chapter 274, Qing Dynasty 32. Su Qingni not only took in the children, but also let them learn martial arts and literature. LV Ying had already tested her nephew, and her nephew's martial arts were already second-rate in the martial arts world, and he had already learned all the 4 books and 5 classics. At her nephew's age, she could not compare to him. LV Ying was extremely grateful to Su Qingni. Su Qingni not only preserved the bloodline of the Lu family, but also preserved the style of the Lu family's scholars. As the descendants of a great Confucian scholar, how dare he call himself a member of the Lu family if he can't read and write? Su Qingni accepted LV Ying's thanks with a smile. She really didn't expect that she would save LV Ying's nephew, but it was quite gratifying to see LV Ying's first appearance in front of her. After LV Ying said the words of thanks, it was the turn of the fourth prince to come on stage. The fourth prince heard some things about Su Qingni from LV Shu, of course, many things. Su Qingni would never let the children know, and thought that Su Qingni was a great hidden master in the city. This time, he accompanied LV Ying to show respect to the wise and humble, and came to recruit Su Qingni. Su Qingni and the fourth prince were talking in fancy words, but the fourth prince did not dare to reveal his identity to Su Qingni because Lu Ying was around. The two chatted about everything. Although the fourth prince had a cold face, he was very talkative and could talk about anything. As expected of the son taught by Kangxi with 120 recitations, he was knowledgeable. The fourth prince could pick up any topic Su Qingni mentioned. Su Qingni could pick up any topic the fourth prince picked. This made the fourth prince recognize that Su Qingni was a talented person. He thought that he would come to the Su family alone in 2 days, reveal his identity to Su Qingni, and recruit her under his command. The fourth prince and Lu Ying sat for a while and then left, and Lu Shu followed them. Although he was reluctant to leave his friends, he had just reunited with his aunt, and his aunt wanted to spend more time with him, so he couldn't refuse. Moreover, his aunt was pregnant and wanted his nephew to accompany her, so he couldn't refuse. After the fourth prince left, Su Qingni called the children over and told them that she was leaving the capital. "Young master, why is it so sudden?" Xiao Jia asked in surprise. Su Qingni did not tell the fourth prince's identity and his plan to the children, lest the children leak the information and let Lu Ying know that the fourth prince had concealed his secret, so that the fourth prince would resent Lu Shu and the children and deal with them. Su Qingni chuckled and said, "It's not sudden. I had planned to leave the capital to play, but you were still young, and I was worried about you, so I didn't leave. Now Xiao Jia is 16 years old, and he can get married. He is an adult, and he can take care of himself and you brothers and sisters. I can leave with peace of mind." The children were reluctant to part with Su Qingni, but after hearing what Su Qingni said, the children couldn't say that Su Qingni would continue to stay in the capital for them. Several of them stared at Su Qingni reluctantly, without saying a word. Su Qingni's heart softened when she was stared at by their dog eyes. She reached out and touched each child's head, and said gently, "I'm leaving, but I'm not coming back. Don't worry, I will come back to see you every year." The children were comforted, but they were still reluctant to leave Su Qingni. Su Qingni would not change her mind because of her softness towards the children. She didn't want to have anything to do with the fourth prince. There was nothing to pack. Su Qingni had enough silver notes on her. Of the 100,000 taels that she traded from the steward of the ninth prince, there were still 70,000 taels left. Su Qingni left 500 taels of silver for Xiao Jia and Xiao Yi respectively, asking them not to treat themselves and other brothers and sisters badly. The two hid the silver very carefully. With so much silver, even if Su Qingni didn't come back for a few years, they would not starve. Su Qingni left the capital like this. Apart from the city gate, Su Qingni didn't know where to go for a while. The scenery of Jiangnan, the scenery outside the Great Wall, the customs of the coast. Su Qingni has seen a lot of the world. Without a purpose, you can only use the simplest method. Put a leaf flat on the palm of your hand, stretch out your arms, wait for the wind to blow, roll up the leaf, and look at the direction in which the leaf finally falls, and Su Qingni will walk in that direction. The fallen leaf fell on Su Qingni's left hand, so she walked to the left. The north on the left leads to the outside of the Great Wall. Su Qingni walked and stopped along the way, and her speed was very slow. Before reaching Mulan Paddock, Su Qingni was caught up by Master Kang's team patrolling the outside of the Great Wall. Su Qingni stood on a high place and looked at the long team, and suddenly thought of a question. "So, what year of Kangxi is this year? Anyway, it's not the 47th year of Kangxi, and the prince has been deposed once. Calculating the time, this year is the 51st year of Kangxi, and the prince is going to be deposed again." She thought of the 13th prince who was implicated because of the dethronement of the prince. In the 47th year, the 13th prince was imprisoned in the beekeeping alley by Master Kang. Su Qingni sneaked into the beekeeping lane to see the 13th prince. The conditions in the beekeeping lane were not good, but they were good compared to ordinary people's homes. Moreover, as a prince, the 13th prince's guards really did not dare to abuse him. In addition, the 4th prince secretly took care of him, so the 13th prince's life in the beekeeping lane was not bad. Except for his own depression, he did not suffer too much. Therefore, Su Qingni did not show up, but secretly stuffed a few dog skin plasters into the supplies prepared by the 4th prince for the 13th prince, and pasted them on his knees to treat rheumatism. Not long after, the prince was released, and the 13th prince, the unlucky guy who was implicated, was also released. Because of a few dog skin plasters, the 13th prince's knees were fine and there was no problem. However, he became silent after that, and he did not leave his house except when it was not necessary. It's a pity that the 13th prince will be implicated by the prince again. This time, it's really a disaster when you are at home. Master Kang was simply angry and crippled his favorite son. The unlucky 13 was locked up again. This time he was locked up for another 10 years. No matter how ambitious he was, they were all gone. Su Qingni changed her direction. With Master Kang and his group outside the Great Wall, it was inconvenient to go there now. It would be better to go to Jiangnan first. It is said that the salt merchants in Jiangnan often compete for wealth, and their methods are simply amazing, even more fun than modern people. Su Qingni played in Jiangnan for half a year before returning to the capital. If she hadn't promised the children to go back to see them, she would have liked to go out to sea with a foreigner's ship. After not seeing them for half a year, the children have become mature and stable, and even Xiaolu and Lu Shu have the demeanor of little adults. Lu Shu returned to the small courtyard after his cousin was born. He didn't feel comfortable at all staying with Lu Ying. Chapter 275, Qing Dynasty 33. Su Qingni's return made the children very happy. Xiaobing and Xiaoding, two girls, joined forces to make a sumptuous meal to celebrate Su Qingni's return. Su Qingni could see that Xiaojia and Xiaoding, Xiaoyi and Xiaobing had signs of love. Xiaobing and Xiaoding are just junior high school students in modern times. This is puppy love. However, she is not a middle school class teacher, and now is not modern times, but the Qing dynasty where early marriage is common, so even if she can see it, Su Qingni will not stop the two couples, but will be happy to see it happen. In the evening, Su Qingni went out with a pot of wine. She came to the mansion of the 13th prince. Although the 13th prince was imprisoned, this time it was still good. He was not imprisoned in the beekeeping lane, but in his own mansion. The officers and soldiers guarding outside the mansion were just shelf goods. Su Qingni easily entered the 13th mansion without being discovered by anyone. There were much fewer people in the 13th mansion than in other people's mansions. Su Qingni walked on the road in the yard openly, and no servants found anything wrong. So, Su Qingni came to the outside of the 13th prince's study. There was light coming out of the window of the study. Su Qingni wanted to imitate the people on TV and smear her finger on the window paper with saliva, then press a small hole to peek into the room. However, just as she raised her hand, Su Qingni found that the window was not pasted with the window paper, but inlaid glass. The quality of the glass was not good, it was a little turbid, and the visibility was not high, but it was also glass, and you couldn't poke a hole with saliva. The most important thing was that the people in the room could see the dark shadow outside through the window glass. Who? 13th prince shouted. He thought it was some unruly servant, but he heard a familiar voice that he hadn't heard for a long time. An old friend is visiting, I wonder if 13th master welcomes you. This voice, impossible. The owner of the voice is already dead. No, it's possible. Thinking of that person's character, thinking of that person's ability. How could such a person die easily? The most likely possibility is that this person didn't want to enter the 9th brother's house, so he chose to fake his death. The 13th prince quickly walked to the window and stretched out his hand to pull it open. Sure enough, through the light from the candle, he saw clearly the person standing outside the window. Who else could it be but Su Qingni? Su Qingni came to see the 13th prince this time without makeup, revealing her true face. It's you. You are not dead. The 13th prince was surprised and angry. You actually faked your death. Su Qingni pursed her lips and smiled. I can't help it. I like freedom. I don't like being trapped in the backyard and competing with a group of women for a man. The 13th prince sighed when he heard it. I should have thought of it earlier. Su Qingni chuckled and asked, Excuse me, master, can I come in? The 13th prince stepped back 2 steps, moved aside, and made way for Su Qingni. Su Qingni jumped lightly and jumped into the study from the window. The two sat down face to face. The 13th prince picked up the teapot and poured a cup of tea for Su Qingni. He smiled bitterly and said, I am in prison now. There is no wine at home. I can only use tea instead of wine. I have wine. Su Qingni opened the lid of the basket she brought with her and took out a small jar of wine and 2 side dishes from the basket. One was braised pork head and the other was fried peanuts, which Su Qingni asked Xiaobing and Xiaoding to prepare. The 2 girls thoughtfully prepared chopsticks, wine glasses, and bowls and plates. Su Qingni took it out and placed it in front of herself and the 13th prince. The food is simple, please understand. After all, I am not a lady of a wealthy family anymore, and I cannot afford delicacies. The 13th prince picked up the wine jar and poured himself a glass of wine, drank it in one gulp, and let out a long sigh of enjoyment. Good wine. With such good wine, It is enough to enjoy it even without any snacks. Su Qingni smiled proudly. This wine is brewed by my adopted children themselves. Of course it is good. Brewed by yourselves? How much? The 13th prince stared at Su Qingni with bright eyes. Su Qingni smiled and said, it's not much? It's enough without overdoing you. That's great. The 13th prince smiled. I've been confined in the mansion these days. Except for the holidays when my fourth brother would send me some wine, I haven't had a drink anymore. My mouth is almost dry. Su Qingni was surprised. You are the emperor's prince. Even if you are confined, you will not be short of daily necessities, right? The 13th prince smiled bitterly. A phoenix in trouble is worse than a chicken. Now that I am disliked by the emperor, I will never have a chance to make a name for myself. It's common for people in the Ministry of Internal Affairs to step on the inferior and flatter the superior, and to withhold supplies. What's more, when I was loved by the emperor before, I was an eyesore to many people. Now naturally, some people will take advantage of my misfortune. The 13th prince thought that Su Qingni would sigh and sympathize with him, but Su Qingni only said, your life now is much better than that of ordinary people. At least you won't be hungry or cold, and you have books to read. The 13th prince was stunned for a moment, and smiled. Yes, my life now is much better than most people. By the way, the books I read now are all shipped back from Western countries. After reading them, I have a better understanding of those places. Just like you said, if the Qing dynasty does not learn the science of Western countries, sooner or later it will be breached by Western countries. At this point, the 13th prince's face showed melancholy. It's a pity that the emperor only regards Western countries as barbaric and small countries. Although he also understands some Western culture, he does not pay attention to it. The fourth brother is the same. Their vision is limited to such a piece of land, but they don't know how big the world is. The 13th prince sighed and said, fourth brother is not as good as ninth brother in this regard. Ninth brother organized several fleets to do business all over the world and brought back more materials and more advanced technology from other places. I once heard the conversation between ninth brother and eighth brother. The reason why ninth brother was so active in wanting to push eighth brother to the throne was that he wanted eighth brother to allow him to go out to sea to visit other countries after he ascended the throne. At that moment, I was almost tempted. Su Qingni, are you tempted to push your eighth brother to the throne as well? The 13th prince chuckled twice. Yes, at that moment, I really wanted to cooperate with the ninth brother. But the eighth brother is the same as the fourth brother. He only has the throne and the Qing dynasty in his eyes. He was able to let the ninth brother leave the Qing dynasty and go overseas because he has a good relationship with the ninth brother. If it were me, the eighth brother would not let me leave. So, I gave up this idea and decided to support my fourth brother. Su Qingni asked with a smile, are you sure that your fourth brother will allow you to leave if he gets that position? He won't let you become the prime minister and work you to death. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.